On with us. Um, looks like Rumble's good. Let me mute this. There we go. All right. So I don't know who's joining us today, but I had gotten a request yesterday. And of course, I don't have my readers right here with me um, to look at Psalm 37. So I'm going to just grab that while we're waiting here. I have a new translation of the Bible. I have the, well, if I can get to it here. I should have marked that, huh? I have the Messianic Jewish Family Bible. There we go. Psalm 37 is long. I probably won't read the whole thing. Oh, for Pete's sake, if I could turn the page, that'd be something, wouldn't it? There we go. There we go. All right. So I'm just pulling that up so that we've got that ready to go. If you're here, leave me a comment so that I can see that you're here. If you're on Facebook, you can leave a comment in the chat and it should pop up here on Restream for me. Let me make sure we've got everybody. Yep, that looks like Rumble. View on customer TMP. Make sure. Looks like we're doing well. Okay. If it's going there. I don't know. For some reason, it's not showing up there, but it looks like we're good on Rumble, so we'll just go there. Anyway, if you're here, leave me a comment so I know you're here. And that way I kind of know who I have with me. So if you're just now getting here, this is tea time. This is our second tea time. And what we do is we just get together at some point during the week. I want to do this on Mondays, but this week we were getting fiber optic cable because we were having so much trouble with the streams kind of just bugging out on us. And so we went ahead and took the jump, and our cable bill is ridiculous, or our internet bill, but we don't have cable. But it just, boy, I tell you, the live stream last night just was so smooth, no issues. I know some people watching had issues, but those were on their end because our folks that generally have good solid stream didn't have any interruptions. So you'll get that sometimes, probably depending on where you are. And our light is weird, isn't it? Oh, that's painful. Good morning, Agnes. Welcome from Nashville. You're not too far from me. We went to Nashville a couple years ago, um, before COVID. And isn't it funny? Is your life like permanently scarred by this mark in the timeline of pre-COVID? It's like when you lose somebody, before my cousin died or after my cousin died. Just these, it's fun, and it's interesting that it's always really good or really bad things that mark it, right? So it's, this was before I had my first child, or this was before the death of so and so. So my life seems to be pre and post COVID, and I feel like it's never going to migrate back to pre-COVID. But we had gone to Nashville and we stayed. I had never stayed at a, oh, what is it called? I'm wanting to say brothel, but that's not the word, of course. Where people go and they stay in this, like, it's kind of like a dormitory style. What is that called? If you guys think of it, put it in the chat because I can't think of it. But anyway, hostel, not brothel. They sound the same. Give me a break. I'm trying. But anyway, I had not told my husband, so I had made this trip. He knew we were gonna go to Nashville, and he was just relying on me to make all the arrangements, which generally I do. And I thought, I've never stayed in a hostel. I almost said it again. I've never stayed in a hostel. This'll be fun. This'll be an adventure for us. Yeah, hostel. Hi, Christy. Definitely hostel. Oh, it killed me. Anyway, when we got there and he's like, "Where are we staying?" And I told him at the Nashville hostel, he was like, "What? What? No, no, not a B&B. Hi, Mama Llama, smile." Um, so I was like, "Hey, Mama Llama, are you seeing this on YouTube?" They told me I had to wait 24 hours to stream. If you guys are seeing me on YouTube, I am just over the moon. It looks like you are. Wow, they did it in less than I don't even have 100 subscribers. By the way, I blame you guys for that. If you've not subscribed yet, don't make me hold my breath till I pass out because I mean, it'll be a hot mess. This room's a disaster. We're trying to do a remodel and there's just crap everywhere. So if you're watching on Rumble, hit that plus button, subscribe. Please subscribe and share. And definitely if you're on YouTube, so I can kind of get those numbers up. But we went and we go to check in, and oh, you are on YouTube. I'm so excited. YouTube has the rule that you can't live stream on there until you have 1,000 subscribers and so many watch hours. But I wondered where I have Restream if I could stream to it from Restream. And I thought, well, shoot, I'll try it and see. So I'm just tickled pink that it's working. So we get to this hotel. We have to park down the street, and you're walking up right on the riverfront there in Nashville. And we get to the place, and he's like, "What is this?" And we got lucky because when I called to make the reservations, he's like, "Well, we've got, it's like a dorm style setup, and so there'll be 2 double bunk beds, one down, one up, and then there's 4 sets of those in a room." Oh, that's so exciting. Um, and he and so I asked, I'm like, "Well, is there anybody booked in our room tonight?" Because I was hoping there wouldn't be because I knew he wouldn't sleep if there were other people in the room. Because he's got to, keep vigil and make sure no one's gonna kill us, I guess. But, um, so he's like, "Why would you book us here? Were there no hotels? Were there no Airbnbs?" And I'm like, "Oh, no, I did it on purpose. I always wanted to travel Europe as, a young person, and I never got the opportunity, so I thought, 'Wow, there's a hostel right here in Nashville, and I'm gonna stay in it.'" But now, to be fair, so we got the room, we slept on the bottom bunk, it was a nightmare. Everybody there's I think an 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock quiet time enforced, and we as the old people there had to call at, like, 12:30 because kids were running up and down the hall, like, kids, I mean 20-somethings from other countries, running up and down the halls, carrying on, playing tag, all kinds of weird stuff. And while that's fun when you're 20-something, when you're our age, you're just a wreck the next day if you have that kinda sleep. So they got it quieted down, and the funny thing was, so when you go in the hostel there in Nashville, there's, like, a big open, communal room, and there's a kitchen, and it's a big kitchen, like, you could cook for 30, 50 in it probably, um, 30 or 50, up to, I don't know. And there's a big table, and you can sit there and eat, and you can put your stuff in the fridge and mark it, and, people will leave it alone, or you can cook with people, which is fun, right? And, then they had board games and cards and all kinds of just, darts, different things you could do. They had a sign-in book, which was neat because you could leave a message like where you were from, what you enjoyed about your stay. And then you go upstairs and there's all the dorm style rooms. So we got lucky in that room of 8, it was just us. And we were able to lock the door. So he slept a little. Well, we get up the next day and we were on a co-ed floor. And I just hadn't thought about that, I guess. And so I go to get in the shower, so I take all my stuff, and the shower's like a college, dorm shower. There's all these stalls and, you go in. And as I'm going in, this boy, I say boy, he's probably 22. This boy is walking out of the shower totally naked. And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm in the wrong bathroom." So I turn around, I got all my stuff. I rush out, I'm standing in the hall, and I look at the door again, and I'm like, "No, it's I think this is right?" So and I don't know why you would do that. I get other people in other countries are more comfortable with public nudity, but still, like, put your towel around you. What are you doing? And, so I waited for him to finish. I went in there, quickly showered and everything, and I come out, and Don is completely traumatized. So he was sitting with the door open in the bedroom playing guitar, and these 2 girls who were going to the shower or coming from, I can't remember which, who are just wearing underwear and a bra, that, they're not sharing. They each have them on, walk by him, and they're like, "Oh, I love your guitar, that's so great. Where are you from?" And he's trying to have a conversation with 2 20-somethings who are in their underwear. He was really shy in high school, he didn't date, he always wanted to go to the dances, but was too shy to ask anybody, so he's shy. And I come out, and he's like, he's just all out of sorts, and I said, "What's wrong?" And he said, "I was sitting here. I just was playing the guitar, that's all I was doing. All I was doing." And I'm like, "Okay." And he says, "These 2 girls walked up, and they were just in their underwear." And I'm like, "I know, there was a naked guy in the bathroom. I thought I was in the wrong bathroom." And he said, "Well, they said they liked my guitar playing," and I just stared right at their foreheads. he doesn't wanna seem like this lecherous old guy, and I'm like, "Babe, I think the lecherous old guy thing is off the table when people are running around in their underwear." I don't know. If your kids are watching, I'm sorry, that's the story I chose to share, but we so with the I had made this arrangement for us to ride the Segways, and if you ever go to Nashville, there's a place there where you can rent Segways, and they teach you how to use them, and then they guide you on this tour, and the tour was so interesting because it wasn't just stuff you could look up on Wikipedia. It was, like, interesting gossip on the different sites that we went to, who lived there, how many baby mamas this old general had, all this kinda stuff, so it's just she just added a lot to it. Well, there's one in every group, right? So there's one guy, and I knew he was gonna be trouble when we were at the business location, and they're training us on these things, how to stop, how to start, how to, um, just how to drive this thing and do it safely. And they're telling us, stay in a straight line. This isn't a race. Don't try to get out ahead of somebody. Your spot is your spot, and that's where you stay. And they were very clear about the instructions. Keep your helmet on, all this. And so I think we wore helmets. Um, we get all trained and we get out, and I'm like, that guy's going to be trouble, right? Because he's trying to like see how fast he can start, go, and how fast he can stop, and how fast can he get it. And this is in a small room, and I'm like, "Yep, he's the one to watch." So he is up in the front right behind, well, initially he's behind us. So he and his wife are behind us, and you can tell, God love this woman. She's just she's just hanging on, right? She's mortified to be married to this man, and I think he's probably a good guy, but he's an idiot, and he's an idiot under certain circumstances. I think he's probably okay the rest of the time. So he's got her backpack on, because she was nervous about riding, and it's got all her girl stuff in it, right? And, he's behind us, and he keeps weaving out, and so I'm in front of Don, and I'm about 4 or 5 people back from the front, and he's like, "Do you see this guy? Do you see" So when we stop, he's like, "He's crazy. He's weaving in and out," and we're on sidewalks, there's pedestrians, all this stuff. So as we're coming back, now he's confident, and this is a long, I mean, it took us a couple hours. He's now confident. He somehow has gotten up to the front of the line, so they're now up in the front and we're behind them, and we're going down to cross this street, just, sidewalk to sidewalk, right? Just crossing a side street, and he's flying. He gets out ahead of the lady who's leading us, and then there's this person steps out into the road, and he tries to miss her, and he wrecks the Segway. He goes over and I'm probably the only nurse in the crowd, and we have a very dark sense of humor. He goes over the handlebars and rolls, and everything that is in her backpack comes flying out. Tampons, makeup, everything is out. He's all skinned up, right? And, um, and I yell, "10." It's like, "You didn't even wait to see if he was okay." And I'm like, "He's an idiot. They're always okay." And it was a 10. I mean, it was that topple over the handlebars, it was worth the price of admission. And so he gets back up, and now he's all embarrassed, and you would think that this would be a lesson, right? And that he would settle down and act right like he had been treated, but no, no, he's going for broke. So we're now maybe a block from the location where we started, and he's flying, and he's in and out, um, going to the right, passing people, getting in front of him. We're all just kinda trying to stay back out of his way because he's gonna kill somebody. Well, he takes off, and he doesn't realize that up maybe 6 businesses, there is a downstairs business, right? So, kind of in cities, you'll see this where there are, businesses all along, and then there'll be stairs that just go down from the sidewalk, kind of like a hole, and you can go down there to a bar or whatever's down there, right? So, I see it coming, and I'm like, "Oh, no, he's gonna get hurt this time." So he sees it. He's headed straight for it. He sees it, he pulls out, he hits the rail for the staircase, bounces off the rail, hits the traffic light rail, um, wrecks, puts a huge dent in the Segway, and I thought, well, he damaged property now, so that's just a 7, so I yell 7, which makes him mad, and I'm like, "What are you doing? Stop it." His wife is just so embarrassed. She's like, "Would you please quit? All these people are watching this, and you've gotta act full all the time," Bless her heart. I wouldn't go anywhere with this man. And, so anyway, the lady gets him all cleaned up, and she didn't really scold him or anything, and we get back, and when we go back to the hostel, I write the story in the book, and I name the person who conducted our tour because she was so stinking funny and because she knew all the dirt on these places and because she didn't scold the crazy man. Um, who, I mean, he had to be hurting at the end of that because that first roll, but sometimes you'll see people, they'll take a big fall, especially kids, and he wasn't a kid, but you'll see a kid take a big fall and you're like, "Oh man, I would be dead if that happened to me," and then they just bounce up because 'cause they're made of rubber. But yeah, I don't know what the conversation was back to their hotel that day, but I would have paid to have heard it. So if you're drinking tea or coffee, hey, leave me a message, tell me what you're drinking. If you're on Rumble, you can comment in the rant section. I know there's a little dollar sign with a bag there. You can comment without having to donate, but if you wanna donate, that's nice too. So don't feel like you can't comment, and I'll still read your comments even if you don't donate. Um, Because I just like talking to people, but today I'm drinking tiramisu tea, um, and I have it mixed with, so it's a white tea, a white so the tea itself is white because the black tea has way too much caffeine for me. So it's a white tea tiramisu, it's by Harney& and Sons, and I have mixed with it a chocolate, it's like a cocoa tea, um, and I can't think of who makes that, I should have brought it, and then I've just got it sweetened with, the little stevia drops that you can get that are flavored, so I've got a little bit of vanilla, a little bit of chocolate in it, and then chocolate creamer, and so now it's dessert. This is probably why I'm struggling to lose weight. I'm just gonna throw that out there, maybe. I can't bring myself to calculate the calories, but I miss coffee, and now I've replaced that crutch with tea, and it's so good. So if you're drinking something, share what you're drinking. Like I said last week or 10 days ago, I guess, if it's wine, y look, I know it's 2:15, 2:20 in the afternoon, but if your day has been so bad that you're drinking wine at 2 in the afternoon, I'm not gonna judge you. So just pop it up there. Let us know what your struggle is. Christy's drinking coffee with peppermint mocha. Hey, that's what the peppermint mocha is what's in mine. Um, Peppermint mocha creamer, that sounds good. Coffee doesn't taste right to me since COVID. Um, when COVID was going on and I was doing daily broadcasts because I was sick and I didn't wanna be alone, um, I would wake up early in the morning if I slept at all, and by 10 AM, the moms who were homeschooling their kids were online, and they're like, "The assignment today is to, create a science fair in your home." They couldn't make it, like, easy assignments because the parents are doing it and trying to work at the same time, trying to figure out enough, hi, Patty. Patty's drinking, Meyer lemon with honey tea. Nice. Um they just you could tell they were broken, that this whole lockdown was just a ploy to break all of the moms that were gonna have to stay home with their kids, and I would see them, and you could just tell they're like, "It's 10 o'clock in the morning, we're on snack 7, there's still no homework done, we're supposed to be setting up some kind of science fair in our home." It's bad enough, and most people, it's so funny, every time science fair would come around, I made my kids actually do their own, but you could tell all the other ones were made by the parents, and so it looked like my kids were just losers because their project did not look near as good as the others, but I knew good and well the kids didn't make those other ones. So these moms would just be they were just coming undone, and and I got on and I'm like, "Look, my kids are grown, I'm retired, but I have got to say, I am so proud of you moms who are now having to homeschool your kids, and you never signed up for this." And when I was working, I was a single mom, and so during the summer, my kids would be home and I was working nights. So I would work 7 to 7, and I would get home and, make sure everything was ready for them for breakfast. They were old enough to kinda do that stuff themselves, middle school, and then I would go to bed and get 0 sleep because someone was touching someone else, and, "No, that's mine. No, you gave it to me. You said I could have it," right? All of that. And so I remember when August came around, the buses were doing their routes and they were just practicing, and I had to hold myself back from running out and throwing my body in front of the bus and screaming, "Just take them. For the love of God, take them. I don't even care if you teach them anything. Just get them out of my house." Because if I have to hear, "I said stop it. Quit touching me. Why are you doing that? I told you to quit. I'm gonna take it to my room so you can't." I will lose my mind. I'm gonna snap. And this was just summer. These people did this for over a year. And I'm like, if you are it was like 10:30 when I got on in the morning. I said, if you're in your closet crying, drinking wine out of the bottle, I'm still proud of you. I'm still proud of you. All of your children are still alive. I don't even care if they've learned anything. The fact that you've not killed them yet. And I've homeschooled, so I know how frustrating it can be to get your kids to do something that they would willingly do for a teacher, that they're now going to fight you every step of the way on, and something that would have taken 12 minutes that is now taking 2 hours and every last fiber of sanity that you have, right? And you're telling them, you're like, "You could have done this 10 times by now, but rather than that, you just argue with me." And there's no break because you were locked in with these crazy people. Hats off to good teachers and, I definitely saw them differently after, but I couldn't have done it, not for that length of time. But anyway, somebody wanted me to read Psalm 37, and as I said, it's long, so I'm not gonna read the whole thing. But I did key in on, some verses here at the end. Let me see if I can get them straight here. Um, so they're talking about, God the Father as Adonai, that's the name they're using. So for Adonai loves justice and does not abandon his godly ones. They will be preserved forever, but the seed of the wicked will be cut off. The righteous will inherit the land and dwell in it forever. That's a good promise, don't you think, that the righteous will inherit the land? Because it just feels like the lunatics are gonna take over, right? And we're soon gonna be their slaves or something. I don't know what the plan is, but things are super sketchy right now. Um, the mouth of the righteous utters wisdom, and his tongue speaks justice. And I thought, isn't that where we're at right now? Like, how many of you, Mama Llama's drinking her water, how many of you at this point in your lives are feeling like the biggest thing that you could bring yourself to do, and the scariest thing that you could bring yourself to do would be to speak righteousness and wisdom because of how it might come down on you. With all the censorship and everything, it's just funny to me how this word is always relevant. You can make it apply. If you read other books, it doesn't work like that, but this book actually does, and I just think that's super cool. The torch of his God is in his heart. His steps do not slip. The wicked lie in wait for the righteous, seeking to slay them, whether that is um, literal or figurative. Do you not feel like that now? Do you not feel like if you say the wrong thing or if you cross a family member's current view, whatever it is, that's it. You're cut off from their lives. You're dead to them. And I think a lot of people feel like that. People were expressing that in my live stream last night, about how hard and how dividing this whole thing has been for their families. And I would remind young people, gather around children, when we were kids, our grandparents had very different views than we did because they grew up in very different times. This is one of the easiest times as far as what it takes to work and get things done, um, that we've ever lived in as a country. Technology is quick, information is quick. And so I would encourage young people to have some grace towards your older family members who have different opinions than you. And keep in mind that they grew up in times that were much more difficult than this and they see things differently. And that wisdom is important. You may not agree with how they're applying it in life, but you can almost always take a nugget of information that was spoken in love or spoken out of concern on your behalf, and you can find some way to make that useful. So don't be so quick to shut down your family members, be they younger or older. Give people room to be wrong and to believe what they believe without you having to be the one to, chop off their head. Because that's family's supposed to be the soft place to land. So let's all just kind of commit to not doing that. If you've got to avoid a topic that's really heated, I find a good way to do that is uh, to first of all be ready for it coming and try not to be all prickly in advance. And y'all are fancy, but to kind of see that the conversation is going that way and divert it. Just cut it off. There's certain people you're not going to be able to discuss certain things with, and that's just where we're at. But cut it off and focus on something positive that that person did and just start talking about that. I thought it was so cool when you did this, or so neat when you did that, Or, "Hey, you haven't told me about how this thing went or that thing went, and how did you handle that?" And flip instead of letting the ire come on you, flip the whole conversation back to being about that person because people need to and love to talk about themselves, and people need affirmation. And you may not agree with whatever the story is they share, but I promise you, you can find one good thing in there to affirm. So, say you got a kid that is going to protest and that's really freaking you out, but nothing you say is going to change it. And you're praying for them that someone would come into their life that would have more sway than you do. Um, you can say, "Wow, I really admire your dedication in sticking up for things that are important to you." Now, you don't have to agree with what their stance is on it, right? But you can admire that quality in a person and you can start helping them put that to better use. Like, my daughter is really stubborn, and it was really the only problem I ever had with her. She was really an easy kid. And I remember being so frustrated with her stubbornness and then praying about it, and God just kinda dropped it on me. This is not a bad quality, especially in a woman. A woman needs to be able to stand her ground. No needs to not be something that she can have whittled away, have her will broken down to do something she originally said no to. This isn't a bad trait. You just have to aim it in the right direction and show her where to use it, because she's trying to exert her will, and that's an important trait, especially among women, because we're the pleasers, we wanna say yes to everything, and I wanted to have a daughter who felt like she could say no and felt like she didn't have to overextend herself, and because she would have kids someday and all of that, right? Um It says, "The Torah of his God is in his heart, his steps do not slip. The wicked lie in wait for the righteous, seeking to slay him, but Adonai will not leave him in his hand or let him be condemned when judged." So even if you come under judgment from someone, eventually this ends. May it be death that ends it? Yes. But death is not death. Death is just super alive. Because this is a very limited experience. You just don't realize it when you're having it. Um, Wait for Adonai, keep his way, and he will exalt you or lift you up to inherit the land. When the wicked are cut off, you will see it. So you will see. Now, this isn't speaking about family. Wicked are people who are just depraved. They just reject every good thing. They're generally narcissists. Everything is about them. You can kind of see that in some of our young people. You see that everything is about who they say they are, what they say they are, and that their whole life revolves around that. They cannot see past their own noses. That is wickedness. That is I'm going to make these choices in my life. And not only are you going to be tolerant of them, you're going to accept them and embrace them. That's just total narcissism. That's not how it works. And the way you can know if you should be involved in that or not, if you're like on the line because you don't want to be an unaccepting person, is there confusion involved? If this thing that's going on that someone wants you to embrace and support and promote is confusing, then it's not pure, it's not good, it's not from God, because God is not the author of confusion. Now, does that mean you just write that person off? No, unless they're just a toxin in your life and they're taking you down. Um, but we don't engage in fostering that because you don't want to, so when my parents grew up, um, or let's use my husband's parents. My father-in-law grew up during the Great Depression. He died at 93 a couple years ago. My mother-in-law grew up in Argentina, had 3 degrees, which was just unheard of in her day. And growing up during the Depression, they really had an appreciation for every little thing, and they tried to use every little thing. And I j we just had no idea what that was like because they wanted us to have a better life that wasn't like that, where you weren't worrying for every need. And there's good and bad that comes with that. So by blessing your kids and, having them not have to worry about the things you had to worry about, um, those things ultimately build character. So we have to be careful to let some reality fall on our kids in relation to their actions or whatever, because otherwise they're going to be completely unprepared for the crazy world that is out there because there's not going to be somebody cushioning every blow. And what we're seeing now is part of this generation that just thinks everything should be made to suit them. And nobody should be able to say anything that upsets them or crosses their thinking or doesn't agree or promote what they're thinking. And that's a dangerous position to be in as a person because you never have an opportunity to see other people's perspective on what you're doing, right? So you have nobody to bounce it off of whether this is okay or not because everybody's affirming it. So just keep that in mind. And then there's people who just absolutely won't be convinced, and the best you can do is pray for them and not let them tear down your life. Um, it says, "Wait for Adonai and keep his way, and he will exalt you to inherit the land. When the wicked are cut off, you will see it. I have seen a wicked, ruthless man flourishing like a leafy tree in native soil." Have we not seen that? It's so frustrating. We see these rich fat cats who got even richer at our expense during COVID. And, here we're hardworking, honest people, and everything's fallen apart. And it's so frustrating to see it. It says, "But once he passed by, he was no more. Though I looked for him, he could not be found. Notice the man of integrity and watch the upright, for the man of shalom has a future. But transgressors will be destroyed altogether." And why? Because your own action it's not because God is destroying them, it's because their own actions destroy them, because they're living in ways that are not conducive with positive growth and developing relationships, and so eventually their life just gets more and more shallow and more isolated, or and it either forces them to dive more into a darker path or to realize what's going on and change their path. So just keep those things in mind for sure. Um, Transgressors will be destroyed altogether by their own doing. The future of the wicked will be cut off, yet the salvation of the righteous is from Adonai. He is their stronghold in times of trouble. So God is your stronghold in times of trouble. Adonai helps them and delivers them. He rescues them from the wicked and saves them because they take refuge in him. So these people that God is talking about are not trying to do it all by their own wit and by their own skill. They are they are trusting in God, so you have to it's crazy because now so much you have to say, I understand that the things that we fight against are not flesh and blood, but against higher spiritual things, powers, principalities, right? And you have to not fall into the trap of becoming convinced that what they're saying is true, right? Because it's really easy to do. They kind of make you feel like you're the odd one out if you don't believe it. So you have to know that this is powers, dark spiritual powers, all this kind of thing, dark people, um, and not let that deceive your eyes because God is still God. God is still on the throne. God is still a loving father who you can go to for and have, crawl under his wing and have protection from this and be comforted and ask for wisdom and how to deal with it, right? And when you see that these things are kind of taking over the space that you live in, be it your house or your community or your world, um, you'll see opportunities come up for you to get involved. And I want you to pay attention when they come up and see if your knee-jerk reaction is no. So if some opportunity comes up for you to, like something in you tells you, hey, go talk to that person, they're having trouble or something. And that inside voice in you is like, no, that's going to have to be somebody else because I don't know that person. I want you not even necessarily to go do it, but I want you to keep track of how many times you say no when those things come up. And this isn't agreeing to do everything that the PTA asks you to do because you have to guard your time and your heart and your treasures, of course. Um, this is more that internal push to do something. And how often do you say no to it? Because a lot of times we say no and we don't even think about how God might have turned that for good on the other side had we engaged. And I lived like that for a really long time. I just disengaged and all kinds of things came into my path, but I just pushed them away because I didn't want any any heartache that might come from dealing with people. I did that at work. That was my life, nursing, and that was all I had and all I was going to give. And what's funny is once you start pulling back and isolating like that, you isolate more and more and more. It never opens back up. You just crawl further into the hole. And it's easy to do, and COVID physically put us in that position, right? You were locked in a hole, you couldn't leave, and so it made that withdrawal easier and easier to do, and then you've got powers that are stoking, division, which makes you want to even regress more into that hole, right? And so you have to be careful. You have to say, "No, I'm gonna go out there. I'm gonna be bold. I'm gonna be brave. I'm gonna speak truth in love, and not my truth. There is truth, and then there's your experience. We're gonna speak, truth in love. The things that aren't of confusion, the things that we used to all be able to agree on." So, that's what I have as far as, kind of keeping some hope with what's going on. Don't let your eyes fool you. Don't get into the trap of believing that things are as the media or anybody else is telling you they are, because God is an overcomer and you can be an overcomer. So no matter what your situation is, no matter how bleak it looks, no matter, people say, "Well, I've been praying about this for years and years." Great. Now you have to move. You can't just pray. You have to move. You have to do something. If you can't make a positive impact on whoever is in your family, your adult kids, your relatives, or whatever, look for somewhere where you can make that positive impact. I guarantee you there's somebody in your community that wants to be mentored by somebody who has a strong maternal instinct or a strong paternal instinct, and put it to work there, because you have to express that part of who you are. And it is hard because you want to express it with the people closest to you, but right now things are crazy, and I don't want you to lose an opportunity to flex that muscle, and to start working with people. Um, and I think probably what happens when you do that, and I've known that for my life too, when you start doing that, what you'll find is the people in your life then cannot help but see the good that you're doing. And then they start getting kind of jealous, wondering, well, why isn't she doing that for me? She used to do that for me. And then there's your opportunity. So keep that in mind. Let me read your comments here. Um, Jess Weg says, "Oh my, I think I found you today for a reason. You were at the top of my Rumble feed. I've missed you since our last fun chat." Well, thank you, Jess Weg. Jess Weg we found each other. Hold on, let me think of what room we were in. It wasn't Ricada. I think was it Jovan's room, Jovan Politzer's room on Rumble, or his channel? Anyway, we found each other, and she came to one of my Rumble chats and really enjoyed it. So Jess, I'm glad you found me, and I'm glad you're here. Jess says, "Grace is exactly what we need, and their wisdom. If we only have 2 weeks of diesel fuel left, we need their wisdom now huge." Yeah, for sure. This and I want you guys to know part of pushing off fear is being prepared. And there are things that we need to be prepared for. We need to not turn a blind eye to this. There are 15 days of diesel fuel left in this country, and there's no plan to fix that. Um, that is going to be that can be catastrophic, because that's all of our farm equipment, all of our trucks, trains, um, construction equipment, everything. And our supply chain is in a really bad place right now. Once the diesel is not available, it's already almost twice as expensive as just regular gasoline. Once it's not there, it's kind of like, there are things that I'm for, but I'm not for them the way we're doing them. Like, yes, I would like to become less reliant on fossil fuels, but you don't do that by just saying we're not going to use them anymore. You have to work to get the technology and the infrastructure in place first, and then it's a slow transition, and that's just what it is, because slow transitions work. You can't just stop everything with no solution and be like, "There, we're not dependent on diesel anymore." And we're like, "Yeah, but we're starving to death. We have no way to heat our homes," all these things. I know you don't heat your home with diesel, but it all kind of ties in. So be prepared. Make sure you have got food stored. There will be shortages at the grocery stores. So start preparing now, so that you don't have to fear when that comes, and that fear doesn't consume your life and make you lose hope. We've been stocking up for about a year now. There's also a fertilizer issue where fertilizer has like tripled in price, and we won't feel that this season because the harvest is already done. But next season, we're really going to see it, and we're thinking probably for the next couple years. So just make sure you're prepared. Your cabinets are stocked. If you get some crazy news that the whole supply chain has broken down, you're like, okay, we've got food. We're going to be okay. So definitely be prepared is very important. Um, Jess says, "What you said about how to talk to people, amazing. And being a stubborn, strong woman is also amazing." Yes, stubborn used in a positive way is perseverance. It's being knowing who you are and knowing what you're about and knowing the things that have value to you that you're willing to fight for. That's good, right? We use stubborn in a negative connotation, but that can also be, translated as enduring, steadfast, long suffering, all those things. This life happens in the wink of an eye. Yes. My biggest for God, your biggest question for God, do souls really have a choice? Or are some souls just bad and some are just good? So there's a couple theories on this among um, apologists, people who study the Bible and study different religions. And there's the theory that there's only the elect, and only those people could, have an eternity with God, and that those are already picked out, and you don't know who they are, and you just hope it's you. And that does not to me, that doesn't make any sense with the nature of the God that I met, because God was so excited to see me again, like, and have me right there with him, because he had made me, just like you would be when your kid comes home from being gone at school or wherever they've gone, right? As soon as you see them, that just all wells up in you again, and you just want them in your arms. And so I don't believe that. Then there is a theory that um, that that some people are going to heaven and some people aren't. And I think we need to be really careful with that, because and the problem that I find with it isn't that it's probably isn't that it's untrue necessarily. It's that people who believe they are going to heaven often will have very judgy attitudes about people who they presume are not going, without knowing that person's heart and that person's life and what they've been through. And they'll do it. I live in Kentucky, so I see it a lot here more than when I lived in other places in the country. And, they're like, "Oh, so and so, he's doing that, and he's gonna burn in hell for that, and, I'm going to heaven, and rah, rah, rah." And I'm like, "Wow, that's attractive. That really draws me to God. That really is you being the hands and feet of God." No, it's not. Stop that. That's ugly. None of us should. It's just like if you believe in the COVID vaccine or you don't believe in the COVID vaccine. We saw people who were like, "If you get the COVID vaccine, if you're that stupid, then you deserve to die." Then you had the other side that was like, "If you don't get the COVID vaccine, you don't deserve any health care, and if you get sick, you deserve to die." And I'm like, "Yeah, because this is gonna get us far." How about people make choices with the information that they have, and sometimes you find out they were good choices, and sometimes you find out they were bad choices, and we all have to support each other through that, because it's hard, and you only know what you know when you know it, and there are other factors influencing these decisions that are not necessarily looking out for us. So, there you go with that. Um, so she says, "Do souls really have a choice, or are some souls just bad?" So meaning, I guess, are some people just born evil? I don't know. After watching the Darrell Brooks trial, I'm more compelled to think that there is a very small group of people that are just incapable, and unless there is some huge divine intervention of um, functioning in a beneficial way in society at all. Yes, the ego can be such a terrible thing. And you'll get people who are doing evil things, who are in very high positions, who are so convinced that their way is right, that they have completely lost the ability to hear the cries of the little people saying, "This is hurting me. This is hurting us. This is destroying this. This is destroying that." And while it may seem all good theoretically from where you are, because you don't have to endure it, it is destroying things for those of us who really have to live in this world. I think the amount of people that are truly evil, that are incorrigible, is probably very small. But I do think they're out there. I do think that there are people, um, who just openly, um, not only are openly depraved, but are openly depraved in a proud way. Like, they're not like, you guys remember when you used to apply for a job, you didn't have to worry about, like, things that you had said on Facebook. And then we came to an era where you were applying for a job and you're like, "Oh, wow, they check Facebook, and I've had some pretty opinionated," or, you got in kind of a little snark fest with somebody, and you go in and you take that down, but it's never gone. Now, because you wouldn't want an employer to see that, even though you said that and you felt it at the time, you're a different person every day. You're a little bit different than you were the day before. Um, and so now what's interesting to me is there will be something completely shocking and abhorrent on somebody's social media, and it's not like it comes out and then that person loses their job unless it goes one direction. Um, it's like, "Oh, wow, that's really dark and, probably dangerous and scary and definitely killing your soul, making you a very dark person." And that person is like, "Yep, that's who I am, and you better embrace it." And I'm like, "Whoa, no, no. I think like the pentagram on your chest, I'm not gonna go along with that. I don't care what government position you have. That's messed up. And I'm not gonna get sucked into that." But it's interesting because that used to be a deal breaker. And now it's like something to put on your resume. Crazy times we live in. Um, and I think we all are a mix of good and bad. You know, I have my days, everybody does. Um, and I think, for most people, the good wins out overall, right? We're all a mix. We all have bad days. We all have, bad, what is that word? Seasons in our life where we just maybe didn't make good decisions or whatever. You were involved in a bad relationship, so bad came from that. So we're all a mix. I mean, keep that in mind when you're looking at people who are doing things that make zero sense to you. You're like, okay, maybe they're in a bad season in their life. Can I pour in a way that will help them, transition out of that? This generation is about to get very hard life lesson. We will see things like the Great Depression and worse, but communists can still come together and help save lives, or communities, I'm sorry, can still, right. So don't, I always keep reminding people, I'm like, look, you're here during this exact time on purpose, which means you have some skill set, even if you don't know what it is yet, you have some skill set that can affect things for the good. So even though you're overwhelmed and, people, I'm a very internal locus of control kind of person. So what I mean when I say that, if you've never heard that, a person with an internal locus of control feels like they are mostly responsible for the direction that their life takes. These people generally are not don't have a victim mentality because they have an optimism because they know they can influence what goes on in their life in one way or another, right? Then you have people who have an external locus of control, and they believe that everything happens to them. My husband is more of an external locus of control. When things go bad, he's a wonderful person, but when things go bad, he's gonna hide his head under the covers because he's like, "Why is all this going on? And there's nothing I can do to affect change, and even if I did do something, it wouldn't help." And what happens when you become a person who lives a life where you have a total external locus of control is you become a victim of every bad thing that happens, not because you want to, but just because your mindset is there's nothing you can do about it. There's no reason to push back because it's not going to benefit you in any way. It's not going to change anything. And so you do nothing. And what happens? That reality becomes true. It becomes truer every day that you engage in that mindset. So sometimes just if you have that kind of external locus of control where you're feeling like a total victim of circumstance right now, and I can see how it would happen, um, I want you to, every day when you get up, I want you to think of one proactive thing that you could do. And it doesn't have to do with anything that's going on in the world today. You go out of your house and you see your neighbor's um, trash can is tipped over. Just walk over and pick it up. Because if you want to be really good, drive it, I'll take it all the way back to the house for him. Those little acts of goodness will pile up and they affirm in you that you are a good person and that you can affect good change in the world. And the more of those little things you do, the more internal your locus of control becomes, the less like a victim, the less afraid you become, because you know every time you get up every single day, you're going to do something positive. And don't tell your neighbor you're the one that did it. Just do that nice thing and go on about your day, and it'll build that. It'll help you feel like you can start making a change just with that very little thing. Um, it just says, God doesn't care about time. No, it doesn't matter to him. I know it's hard to think that way. Just don't lose hope over prayers unanswered. Right, right. If you have a prayer that's unanswered, I want you to think to yourself, is there something I can be doing that would make that come to pass? Are there opportunities that I've said no to that could have made that come to pass? Sometimes, you guys, something will cross your path and you'll get way on the other side of it and look back and you're like, "Wow, I would never have seen it going that way." So, like, when I had my near-death experience, God showed me this situation where I was in line. This actually happened. I was in line at a grocery store, and the lady in front of me was short less than $1 on her order, and she was trying to figure out what to put back. And I saw she was gonna put back something that was definitely for her and not for her kids. And I had lived that life as a single mom of 3 kids. And so I handed her the money, and she was completely humiliated. And I'm like, "No, it's," and I didn't do it, in a big grand gesture. I'm like, "Hey, it's okay. Take it. I've been where you are. It's okay." And so she took it and she was embarrassed and she, got all her stuff and she left. And God showed me years later how that played out. And it was this image of her working in a food pantry for, to give people food who don't have enough. And this woman comes in feeling just like she was feeling that day in the store. And this woman walks in and she's ashamed. And she's like, "Hey, it's okay. I've been where you are. And I'm going to help you." And she made it okay. And that's one small, tiny thing that I would never have imagined would have had that impact going forward. And we have no idea what else she did that had an impact, or the person that she helped, or all the people that she helped. What did they do? How did that change their lives? How did not having to worry about groceries that week change the woman's life, change her children's life? Change the life of everybody that she came in contact with because she wasn't worried about her kids going to bed hungry. So that's what I'm saying. You may not be able to fix the huge problems, but you can absolutely make a difference where you are. Um, yeah, for sure. Yeah, Jess works in logistics. Both I have my son-in-law and both of my boys work in logistics, and that's why we're really up on this whole diesel fuel thing because our kids work in the industry, and it's coming down on us. We I don't know what they're going to do to fix it. It's going to be a problem. Um, we think so much alike. I'm sorry, I keep chatting. I could talk with you all day. So many questions. Help pick up trash cans in your neighborhood because of your elderly, right? There are some people in your neighborhood that struggle to get that trash can up and down. Have your kids do it. Say, "Hey, go over to Mrs. Jones's house and ask her if you can take her cans to the curb for her." Train your children to see those opportunities and take them. Um, and don't let them accept money for it. I must go back and listen to your entire NDE today. Oh, yeah, so if you guys haven't heard, the most recent video I did was with a French filmmaker named Anthony Chin, and it's on my playlist on my channel, so on my YouTube channel, so you can just go right there and, watch it. Let me make sure. I'm gonna get it over here. So we made an agreement. I have, like, some rules before I'll do interviews with people. So it's like, if I do an interview with you, you can't give someone else permission to put that up on their channel because I don't know that person. I don't know what all else they have up on their channel, and for my own credibility, I have to be careful what I'm associated with because people will just assume that you embrace whatever those other things are. But when I set this up with, Anthony, I was like, "We are co-copyright owners," which we are anyway, but a lot of people don't realize that. And so I will be posting it on my Rumble channel. So I wanted to give it time to hit on his channel. Yeah, I'm gonna pull up the link for my YouTube channel. Hold on just a second here. Now, it's so cool that I'm gonna be able to live stream to the YouTube channel. I did not, oh, wait a minute. I gotta go back and open. How do I do that? Give me a second. Having a tech moment here. This one. Okay. I have to open Google under my YouTube account name. And hopefully I can drop this in. Yeah, here we go. So let's go to my channel. And it is called Penny Wittbrodt Near Death Perspective on Life. But I'm going to grab the link here for you. Copy. We'll go back to this other one. Where'd you go? There you are. Okay, let me drop this in the Rumble chat for you. And then I'll go over and I'll drop it in Facebook. Have I got anybody? Yeah, got some people watching on Facebook. Come on now, paste. There we go. So there it is in Rumble. And let me sneak over here to Restream. Close this. Hopefully my chat's showing it is good. It wasn't showing last night. I'm posting it for Facebook right now. There you go. What is it doing? Can't post messages to some channels. Show. Hey, Tracy, let me know if that link came up. There should be a link for my YouTube channel there. but it says can't post messages to some channels, but I don't know why I wouldn't be able to post it to YouTube or to Facebook. Let me try one more time. Yeah, just let me know. Okay, I see it. It's coming up. There you go. All right, so there's that, right? Um, and so I've been doing these writings and wanting to share them with you. And we'll close there. I'm trying to keep these tea time chats to an hour so people aren't so overwhelmed when they try to watch them. But let me find this for you. And if you've got something specific that you're that's so weird because I can see it. Um, okay. Can you not see it on the screen, Tracy? I can see it on the screen. Give it a second. There might be a little delay on your end. Uh, hold on. So I've been doing these writings, and I don't know if I read this one to you guys last time or not. I don't think I did. And so I'll just start. I'll see something or hear something. Let me know, Tracy, if that doesn't come up. If not, you should be able to just go um, to YouTube and type in Penny Wittbrodt life near death perspective, and it should pull my channel up for sure. Okay, so, what happens is there will be something that will happen, and then I will start praying about it, and then the words just start going, and I have to grab my phone or grab my keyboard and write them down, and that's how I know it's God doing the work and not me. Um, Plus he's so way super smarter than I am. So this one's called The Light. We do not have the luxury of indulging in self-pity or lost hope. We are believers. Believers are the only light left in this dark world. We are charged with illuminating the path back to God. If we lose hope, that light goes out. Oh, good. Um, Darkness has an insatiable appetite. It creeps in all around us, devouring territory, gulping down the good and faithful people who once stood fearless in this land. Quietly, it claims the once well-lit paths. These paths are surrendered by those who, perhaps only for a moment, gave in to hopelessness. The sinister forces creep in silently. With malevolent whispers, it seduces the naive. We do not battle against flesh and blood. We battle against dark powers and their pursuit of tyrannical sovereignty. And that's spiritually, that's in this world, that is just a truth. Evil boldly proclaims his decree: lies are truth and truth are lies. Darkness charms the naive, using the foolish to write its agenda. It turns once pure hearts to depravity. Evil works quietly as it plants its seeds of destruction. Its vines burst forth and entangle, crafting murmurs of evil so seductive that it convinces the lost to deny even the obvious truth of their perfect physical design. So persuaded are they by these lies, they eagerly engage in their own dismemberment at the hands of commissioned healers. Yet evil is not sated. One by one, it builds an army, and that army is stalking its prey. Its mercenaries are embedded in our government, our churches, our schools, and our homes. Its poison surges through coiled wires and exits through glowing screens. The war rages all around us. Its victory won't be won with clashing swords. It will be won by default because we did nothing. Evil will enthusiastically accept our surrender. We are here on purpose for a purpose, ordained by God to cast his light into the darkest corners. We are endowed with the light of God. Not only must we must shine brighter still, lest darkness devour the souls of men. And that's just a kind of a come to Jesus moment about how important it is that you are being salt and light in the world, that you are bringing your gifts. And don't tell me you don't have gifts. If your only gift is that you make a great cup of coffee, you can invite a neighbor over for a great cup of coffee, or you can take a great cup of coffee to them. If your only gift is that, um, whatever it is, you make a great canned strawberry jam, or you know how to, operate a chainsaw, you're gonna find places to do good with the skills that you have. Don't get into this idea. I think maybe I don't know where it comes from, but there's this idea that whatever your purpose is, it has to be some big thing. Like, well, that guy, he's a singer and he changes lives with his music, and I just don't have anything like that. Or, that person is a teacher, or that person is a congressman, or whatever. And you think because whatever your thing is isn't that thing, that your thing isn't important. But whatever the I would much rather have a neighbor bring me a cup of tea and sit and talk to me than talk to a politician that's come to my door, wouldn't you? Because you're gonna build relationship. So no matter what small thing, you can pick out something in your life, maybe you're good at cleaning or whatever. Um, Friend people and put yourself out there for people who are in need of that, and then make sure that when you're friending people that you also friend up. So and that's not to be, exclusionary of people, but it is important that you are not the giver in all of the relationships in your life because you only have a certain amount to give, right? And it shouldn't be you should not be everybody else's fountain. So if you're in a situation where everybody comes to you for everything. You need to start friending up. You need to friend people who have skills that you don't have. Maybe they've got a really strong sense of who they are and they're able to say no without feeling guilty. Friend that person, figure out how they do that. Talk to them about how that's a struggle for you and you feel like people won't like you or love you if you don't say yes to every single thing that they want and then they start using you, right? It's we used to say this all the time. 10% of the people in church do 90% of the work and it's true. And they're not always the best 10% of the people in the church, but the other people just don't feel like they have anything to give or just don't wanna get involved. They're just being lazy. So, always friend up with those people. If you see somebody that has got great qualities, not because you're like, "Oh, they've got a great house and their life is so good, and so I'm gonna be friends with them because I covet all those things." No, no, no. I'm talking about you meet somebody who has strong character and has character traits that you wish you had or that you were more like. Friend those people because the people you hang around with will pull you up, right? You can't be the one giving everything and having nobody there to help pull you up, or you're going to bring your whole crew down. Yes, you're helping all those people beneath you, but if you don't ever rise, if you're not ever lifted up, then they stay where they are and you stay where you are, and nobody grows, right? These people just count on you for whatever it is you do and they know you're always gonna say yes, and so you always do it, and then they are never pulled up. They're never the ones that will then come forward and say, "Hey, I think I could do it this time. I'm gonna try." Right? And so once you friend up with people who have those skills, you're gonna learn things like, "Hey, you know what? I've been doing this for a while, and I'm gonna help you learn how to do it so that you can have effect, and you're gonna feel so great because you're gonna be able to give in this way." And then hand that off to that person. We should always be learning, mastering, and then once we've mastered, teaching, and then handing that thing off. And then there's something else we wanna learn or something that we already know that we wanna grow, right? So then we friend somebody who's really good at that thing, and then we grow in that, right? And then as we grow in it, we start doing it, and we get good at it, and then we teach someone else, right? And then they are raised up because then you say to them, "Okay, now you know how to do it. I've taught you. Let's give you an opportunity to try that." And everybody wins, right? Because everybody is friending up in addition to helping other people. So just very important little elements of life. Um, Hold on, let me get where I'm at here. You're welcome for the links. I knew God made me find you today for a reason. That writing is it. I'm so glad. I'm so glad. I want people not to just don't believe everything is going if the world feels like it has lost its damn mind, it has. So don't feel like there's something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you. Things are absolutely insane. I would have never seen this coming. In fact, I think had I known this was coming when I had the opportunity to stay with God or to come back, I probably would have stayed. Because this has just been absolutely bananas and it continues to get more so. Um, so yeah, it's just know that you still have great influence and that this doesn't have to go that way that we know is gonna lead us down a really dark path. And we're gonna have to endure some hard stuff. Just know that's coming. I don't want you to come back and say, "Hey, now, I listened to you on the 28th, and I felt really hopeful, and then we hit a wall." Something terrible happened, and things are worse than they were before. Yeah, life kinda cycles like that, and I think because we all got so busy with our lives and we let the people who were supposed to handle things and didn't really check in on them. And this is both sides of the aisle. I'm not being political. There is so much blame to go around. Um, I find people who are one side of the aisle or the other are generally just normal people who have different beliefs than you or I may have, or the same beliefs, right? It's the people in power that have those beliefs that have lost their minds. And so we have to kind of push back on our local level and say, no, I'm not going to, I'm not going to just shut up and sit down and isolate. I'm not going to do that because I have a lot to give. And if you feel like you're drained and you don't have a lot to give, giving, just pulling that trash can back to the house will fill up your tank. I promise. I promise. Just try it. Um, hey, RJ. Um, Penny's right, says Jess. I love to cook and garden. My man likes to build furniture. One neighbor does tile, another is an electrician, and you can all help each other. Exactly. Um, that's true of marriage too. The couple needs to have good couple friends. Man, are good couple friends hard to find? We've been trying. Don and I have been together for almost 13 years. It is so hard to find good couple friends. So it's like one will be great and then the other one will be Looney Tunes or um it is just really hard. It's friendship just creating friendships in general is so much harder now than it has ever been. Like, do you remember when we were kids and you would just see the new kid across the street and you're like, "Hey, what's your name?" And they'd be like, Sarah or whatever. "You wanna be my best friend?" You know? They didn't think that was crazy. I should try that. I should do a video where I go out and just walk by people's houses who I don't know, and if they're outside, say, "Hey, my name's Penny. Do you wanna be my friend?" And then just record how that goes. I think I would have some people that would be like, "Yeah, sure," and then other people that would just ignore me and go back inside. But that's how we used to do it. It used to be that easy. You'd take a new toy or a toy that you had that you loved, and you'd go over to the neighbor kid and be like, "Look, I got this. Do you wanna play with it with me?" And they're like, "Yeah." And now it's just like if somebody knocks on the door, you're like, "Holy crap, who's outside? Did you invite there's somebody at the door. Did you call somebody?" Everybody's freaked out. April says, "I appreciate this broadcast so much. I'm a professional house cleaner." Oh, girl, I need you. I always try and give people my all. When people are going through stuff, I tend to do a free cleaning to help them. Isn't that funny how helpful that is? After I got COVID, I had an organizer come over. So I'm a minimalist and my husband is a pack rat. And, like, he can tell you when he bought you could just pick up anything in this house. He'd be like, "I bought this, and this is how much I paid for it." So he'll say to me, "Well, how much did you pay for that when you bought that?" And I'm like, "What? How would I know that? Why would I remember that?" But he does. He can tell you that cooler he bought in 1992, and it was $7, and one time he lent it out and didn't get it back for a month. Like, he's very attached to this physical world. And I'm like, all this crap's I can't take it with me, so let's just have very few. My son-in-law is very minimalist, and when my daughter started dating him, she was talking to me and she's like, "Mom, he has 1 fork, 1 spoon, and 1 butter knife." And I'm like, "Oh my gosh, he's my spirit animal." He's like, "It forces you to clean up because if you wanna eat again, you gotta wash that." And now they have 2 kids and there's just all kinds of stuff, and he's like, "Oh gosh," and he's very, organized and tidy, that's his gift. And I would just wanna bring him over and but my husband would have a coronary and have him when the organizer lady was here, he just got on the couch and he went to sleep. And I'm like, "What is he doing? I need his input on what to do with this stuff." And then he didn't give the input, and I'm like, "Okay, it's gone." Um, but he just was so overwhelmed by it, he had to completely shut down. He's like, "There's someone in my house touching stuff that might be mine. I just can't even look." It's like, you're in bed at night and, he's the pull the cover over the head guy, where I'm the, jump up and stand on the bed and be like, "I'll kill you. Who are you? Why you're in the house?" I'm gonna go down fighting. I think ultimately he would get up and handle the situation, but when it comes to, not safety issues, when it comes to things like this is a really overwhelming project or whatever, he really struggles. And it's just I'm good at that. He's good at things that I'm bad at, and it works. We make it work. Um, RJ says, yes, that is true of marriage, isn't it? It is. It's funny because we can get really irritated. All the things that you found charming about your spouse before you got together, after you've been together a while, become super annoying somehow. I don't know how that works, right? And we have to remind ourselves that that's person isn't you, right? So, like, here's one for me. My husband is the king of mansplaining, and he's not doing it to, like, belittle me or anything. He just has a wealth of knowledge that he wants to relate that I don't necessarily need. And so, what was he telling me yesterday? He's so funny. Oh, we had got the new, what is that? The fiber optic internet, right? So I would stop having problems, and I was like, "Oh, this thing," and I was having some kind of problem, and he's like, "Well, turn it off and then restart it or try hitting the." I know all these things, right? I'm the one who live streams, but he's still. So one time, I was working on something, I do furniture, so I like to redo furniture. So that dresser behind me, let me scooch, that you can see, right? That's a mid-century modern dresser. I got it for like 50 bucks. Hold on, let me find the pictures of what it looked like when I started. But one day I was out painting on that piece of furniture, and I had stopped because it was getting dark, and so I turned everything off, and I went back in, and there was still pretty decent moonlight, right? And I was looking to see if there was something on the side, and he comes in and he said, "That would be easier to see if you turned on the light." And I'm like, "I swear to God, I'm gonna kill you." I'm like, "Really? Do you think?" Like, I don't understand the concept of visibility and light sources. And he's not doing it to be a jerk, he's just trying to be helpful, but it will make you crazy sometimes. Hold on, let me find this. Uh, uh, but yeah, so doing projects together, generally ends up in arguments for us. Very frustrating. We'll get there. Okay, so this well, really, do I not have one? Doggone it, I wanted to show you what that looked like before. Hold on, I'll scroll through here. Talk amongst yourselves. If you guys don't watch my Thursday night live stream, we have a really good chat group, and, uh, and they all have gotten to know each other, and they've become friends, which is what I love about doing live streams, because all kinds of people who don't know each other get to know each other, become friends. Kind of the good thing, how Facebook started. Facebook was really good. Sorry to be looking away. I know that's, like, so rude, but I really wanna show you what this dresser looked like before. Um But anyway, I love that about the live chat. It adds so much to the conversation. It gives me things to answer. Don't ever feel like, "Oh, I'm not gonna, wreck her stream of thought by, asking a question." For the love of goodness, where is it? Um, Goodness, we're just to January. You guys, there are almost no pictures of me growing up. I can't prove that I actually existed in any meaningful way other than that maybe my parents, brought us out of the closet at Christmas and birthdays. That's it. That's the only time any pictures were taken of us. And now I have this ridiculous amount of pictures in my phone. Do you guys too? I mean, it's nice because you have a million pictures of your grandkids or kids or whatever, the person you love. Nature, whatever you like to take pictures of, but it used to cost you to go get the pictures developed, and you had to wait a week or 2 weeks for them to come back. Gather around, children. It was a crazy time. If you looked stupid in a picture when the picture was shot, there was nothing you could do. You didn't even know you looked stupid until you got back from the Photoshop and you pulled out your prints and you're like, "Oh my gosh, what is wrong with my face?" Or why does my husband always take a picture of me with my chin down? I'm like, no, don't do that. It makes me look like my head is huge and I have a double chin. You've seen those people that live stream and they're doing it with their phone down here and the angle is like right up their nose. And they're like, I don't understand why people aren't watching my live streams. I'm like, probably because they're tired of looking up your nose, my friend. Get a tripod. I'm almost there. Hold on. Good grief. I need to clean this phone out. I'm pack ratting pictures apparently. Actually, most of it is research, but alas, it is still pack ratting, isn't it? Just because it's important to me doesn't mean it's not pack ratting. You wouldn't think. I'd be curious to know how many pictures you guys have in your phone currently and how far over the top you realize that is now that we're talking about it. Good night. January, December. I have a file that has all of the furniture I've done in it except for that piece. I don't know why. Hold on, I see comments. You're killing me today. I'm sorry. I wish I could chat. Hey, Hans. At work till 5 though. Got a few videos on my new channel. Hans, will you post the link to your new channel for me? I know your other one got taken down. I can't remember who finally told me. I'm like, "Where is MAGA Hands? I can't find him." Uh, okay, now we're almost there. I swear I keep saying that, but it's really true. It's funny, I've got pictures coming up of different people that I went and took care of when they had COVID, in their house with no mask on because I was building immunity, and, it doesn't seem like that long ago. It doesn't seem like we've been in this for almost 3 years, does it? Or maybe it does. Maybe it feels like 10 years to you. Good grief. Watch, I won't end up being able to find it. I mean, I'm back, like, to Arizona when we went to Arizona for the documentary. There's an Amazon Prime documentary that I'm in. I am still mega hands. Dang it. I am so sorry to deny your existence there. I know you are. It's just crazy. The censorship is nuts, isn't it? Maybe I did not design that dresser. It could all be total BS. Um, but anyway, yeah, if you can't stay because you have to work, we will not hold that against you, and you can always catch it on replay, right? Um, I just love that it went live to YouTube before I had met all of YouTube's ridiculous criteria for being able to live stream, and I wonder how long they'll let me stay anyway because my views are not, necessarily views that they espouse. It's not gonna happen. I'm not gonna find it. Doggone it. Well, I'll find it for next time. That makes me very sad because I wanted to show it to you guys. Anyway, it used to be this kind of veneered. Oh gosh, it just was not pretty, but it had a good story. The people that owned it before me, the guy was in the military. It was the first piece of furniture he bought, and then when he got out of the military, he gave it to his first son and then to his second son, and his second son was building a house, and, you think you could just search dresser. Um, was building a house and there wasn't gonna be room for it, and so he was getting rid of it, and I love it when there's a story to a piece of furniture. I'm nostalgic that way. Yeah, not gonna find it. Uh, so just imagine that piece of furniture, um, with, like, this ash-colored veneer on it. So the top looks like wood, but it's not. There's a stuff called reticate, and it is like a wood paint, and meaning that that's made of wood. And so you can paint the top of it. Um, Even you can paint over veneer. I've done it over a countertop. You can paint this stuff called reticate on there, and then you can take a graining tool, or sometimes I'll grain it by hand. But you can take just a graining roller and roll over it, and then you let it dry, and you can stain it. And so the top of that's not isn't wood, but you would not be able to convince anybody of that. And then all of the part on the front that's blue and you've got the little white diamonds, if I can scoot over there, um, that was all that light, dirty color wood, and it was just, it just looked rough, and so we went in. It's got the 4 legs on it, which you probably can't see from here, but, I painted the legs, that dark navy blue, and then I tipped them white to match the accents, and so it's my favorite piece of furniture that I've done so far. Um, I'm looking here. Isn't she a riot? I try. Just downloaded 1,000 pictures from phone. Wow, that's a lot. I need to get mine off there for sure. Patty's got 14,241 pictures on your phone. Oh my goodness. And then 1,873 videos. Wow. Where are you getting all do you take that many videos? That's a lot. Um, oh, wait, wait, wait. Is that your channel? Hold on. I'm highlighting that, buddy. Like you can do anything about it, but wait, no, it's moving. The chat's moving. Hold on. I just wanna make sure I got it because I was looking the other day and I thought, "Shoot, I did not save that link." Okay, now I've got it. Um, yeah, if I wonder it's interesting. So the last tea time that I did went up on my Facebook author page, and for some reason it's been centered. It says, "Your video has been blocked from 250 people." I don't know why. I mean, but they didn't take down my Thursday night live streams. That seems crazy to me. Patty says, "I've not," or no, this is RJ. "I've not cut my hair for 3 years. It's halfway down to my butt." RJ, I could not cut my hair for 1,000 years, and it would be no longer than it is right now. That's it. It only I don't know how it decides, like, do the all the hairs get together, and they're like, "This is it. This is as far as we're growing. It's just not gonna happen." Um, Han says, "I'll be listening." Do you remember me working on that? The only thing I lack is Don's gotta help me put the slides underneath it, um, and then I bought, like, this faux leather. It's like a dark brown like the top, to put in the to line the shelf bottoms with so that the because I stained the shelves themselves or the drawers, and I got that faux leather to put into the bottom so that things don't slide when you put them in there. But I've got, like, all COVID stuff stored in there, things little bottles and stuff that I use to make up things for people who are sick. Um, Jess says she's a riot, RJ. I think we might be soul sisters, we think so much alike. Don't you love it when you meet somebody and you just totally get them and they get you? It's magic. It's I'm always like, somehow your creation was close to mine or something, or God planned that because I don't think there's any accidents. RJ says you have to know which words not to use. Oh, okay, well, I won't say any of those then. They've kind of opened up about COVID a little though, haven't they? Aren't they now like you can say that the vaccines don't prevent transmission or stuff like that? See, that'll probably get me tagged. I probably shouldn't have tried it. Dang it. I couldn't stop myself. Mostly dog pictures. Yeah, we've got one cat that is just the most photogenic animal in our house. She's always been the most photogenic. Um, and that's our Abby. Hold on, I'll show her to you. Isn't she just the prettiest thing? I need to download these so I can actually show them to you. But she's just so nice to take pictures of. She'll sit up. Even when she was little, she was just really photogenic. Um, RJ says, I'm working on rebuilding my fireplace surround and struggling with hanging my new mantle I made. What is it, like a floating mantle or does it have legs on it? I'm guessing because you need to mount it. See, that's something Don could totally help you with, but I think you live far away. Where do you live, RJ? I was on something the other day and I was amazed how many people were from Kentucky, like near me in Kentucky. I was like, oh my gosh, Kentucky in the house. I want to hang out with these people. Enlighten. Hey, just a pit stop into tea time. Work, work, work. Are you drinking anything enlightened that you want to share with us? Um, April says, I've watched you since you got COVID. You're amazing. We still haven't had COVID. Knock on wood. Really? With two kids in school. Maybe you had it and it was just so minor you didn't notice it. Tracy says, yes, and you had to wait a week or more to get your pictures back. Exactly. You remember. You did, and you'd get 'em back, and you'd be so excited, and you thought you were, like, this great photographer, and the heads would be cut off. I used to work in Meyer in the photo lab when I was in college, and, people would come in and get so mad at me about how their pictures turned out, and I'm like, "Look, I can only print what's on the negative," and they're like, "I know the heads were in those you cut those off in the pictures, you need to reprint them." And I would show them the negative, and they're like, "You damaged the negative," and you just couldn't convince people. It was so funny. I love your cats. Yeah, the cats are a big part of the show generally. Steve is usually he's gotten better about not trying to climb up and be on the desk when I'm doing the show. Once we get moved into the studio, which Don is actively working on, um, I told him we had to be in there by Thanksgiving. So he's only got a few weekends left. Um, but he got the internet, the new internet, so that's good. So we're having good streaming and he got the ceiling painted and he got the new fans put in. So all we really lack is getting all the crap out of there and gone through. Um, Painting the walls, putting up the crown molding. We've got LEDs that are going to go up underneath the crown molding. Um, then we've got a counter that's going to go up. We have big monitors that are going to go up on the walls. So he's a musician. So we all use kind of the same stuff. So we've got a couple monitors that are going up on the walls. He's mounting some lights for me so I can aim those from and not have lights all out on the floor that take up so much space. So it'll be cool once we get into the studio. Um, RJ says wants to cut her hair, but now wants to see how long it'll grow. Man, that's something. I can't believe RJ says I can't believe how long it is. I read that hair growth is individualized. Everyone has a stopping point before it splits and breaks. Yeah, mine used to be long. I've never been able to have really long hair, but you can now you have so many ways to add to it, so that helps. Um, Yeah, Jess loves pet pics. Get those up for us. I'll have to make a little slideshow of pet pics for you guys. Um, Patty says, "I love old stuff. Just grabbed original 1919 house windows from parents' basement. Nice. Those there's so many things you can do with the old windows. I love that. I've got a I've got 3 dressers in here right now that I'm working on. Um, I'll have to get some before and afters up for you guys, but I'm waiting. I'm gonna do my mother-in-law's dresser in the spring. We got that when she died, and it's an antique piece, and so I'm really excited about working on it. But I bought a waterfall buffet that's got, they've got the waterfall top that curves down, and poor Don will never live this down. I had gotten it sanded and everything, and had gotten was getting ready to stain it, and so the top layer, of the veneer, and it was like a reddish wood, just gorgeous. I do have a picture of that. Um, he was like, "It's just not exactly level," and I'm like, "It's fine." He's like, "No, you can tell where this is a little bit higher." So he starts sanding, and he sanded down the veneer, and he got too close to the glue layer, and then no stain would take on it no matter what we did. So it has to be ultimately, I would like to re-veneer it, but I need his help, and he's not all about that. And I hate to paint it because the wood was just beautiful. But what I would like to do is re-veneer it because it was such a pretty piece, and I was so excited to get it, and I only paid like $50 for it. I know this wasn't supposed to be a furniture podcast, but it is what it is when we do it, right? Hold on, let me find it. But yeah, that one I've got in my little file here. Of course, I don't have the original. Are you kidding me? But anyway, yeah. So when he sanded it down too far, I had to use the retique on it and go over the top, and so that light colored wood you see on the top is just painted on. Um, and then if you can see the little striations in it, those are done by hand, and but it won't take the stain, so I'm either gonna have to just prime it and paint it, um, which just kills my soul. So now this is what it looks like, and I've got the dark on the top, but I don't like the white, so I'll probably completely redo this one. It was kind of a learning piece for me. But, I just find that that stuff is pretty gratifying, to change something. Oh, there we go, furniture. Okay, so I hate to even look at it. It breaks my soul. Okay, so when we first got the piece, this is what it looked like. Wish I had a quick way to put that up on the screen for you. Um, and then the top was rough, but what I did was I hand scraped it to get those little. But look at the graining. The graining is absolutely gorgeous. Well, we totally ruined that. Um, when I say we, I mean Don. Um, poor guy. He's not here to defend himself. Here's another one that shows the graining pretty well. But there were some, water spots and stuff in it, but the graining is just phenomenal. And of course, it's got that waterfall edge, so it rounds down. It's so pretty. But I just think it's a nice enough piece. The gal that I got it from, it was her mother's, and she got it when I think they'd moved it out of her mom's basement or something like that. Okay, so the piece behind me looked like this after just a light sand, right? There's just nothing in that you're gonna love. Hopefully you guys can see that. And then I went with a lighter blue and hated it, and I'll show you that. Oh, that makes me so sad about that piece still. So absolutely hated this lighter color. And if you look, hold on, I'll show you that top again so you can see what the top looked like. So, uh, maybe you can see it better on this one. So you can see the top is just that really cheap looking icky veneer, right? So I put Reticut on that so that it would look like wood. And I can't even remember how I learned about that. I think I was just watching some channels where people do finish furniture. And so I put the Reticut on it, and then I did the striations by hand. I don't know how well you'll be able to see this. But now that's what that top looks like, which I think we can all agree is way better. Um, and then I went with the darker color, which was a win. This is before I had stained the top. So you can see the legs. You can see where I tipped the legs blue to match or white to match the accents. I think it is. Well, no, it's not quite tiger wood, but it sure looks like it, doesn't it, Tracy? I thought so too. Um, that's a smart catch because I thought that myself. And then now you can see how it looks now. You can't really see the top other than that picture that I just showed you. The picture I showed you where the striations were. Yeah, the top's way better, and I like there was just nothing that stood out about it, and I wanted something navy, and let me tell you, you're taking your life in your hands when you try to paint anything navy or black because every little piece of lint will get in there. That thing has been sanded down probably 3 times in various areas to make it to get little pieces of lint out. It's and if you're doing this outside in the spring, you're gonna have pollen. It just was a nightmare. We finally put a big pop-up tent up out there, and that's where I'll do my, sanding and painting. Um, I like old stuff too. I feel like the new stuff doesn't have any character. Miss Mustard Seed has a great oil for wood. Huh. I'm just gonna sand my mother-in-law's dresser, so I may try that. And you can always use if you've got a wood that's kind of scratched up or just doesn't look good anymore, and especially if you wanted a darker color, you can buy gel stain. And so the gel stains, you just do a light sand, make sure you get scratches and stuff out, and then wipe it off with a paper towel and then go over it with a tack cloth. And then you can paint on that gel stain and then you wipe it right back off and you just do it, let it dry and do it a couple times till you get the color you want. But it's nice because you can go over pieces without having to take them all the way down. Just a light sand will do it. And it's really fun because it works fast. It can really change a piece quickly, like in an afternoon. So I love gel staining. Um, I can't I got that one, hold on. Patty just grabbed an original the windows, got that. Floating mantle, yeah, that is harder. Oh, you're in Seattle, honey, he can't help you there. Um, but if you don't have anybody that's maybe he can give you some advice. So if you let us know, like, what your specific problem is, he may be able to help. Or YouTube is just a glut of information. Yes, those are great, I love the gel stains too. Um I'm looking to make sure I didn't miss any Facebook comments. Uh, yeah, so pretty poor Don. I know he's never gonna live it down, but it would be so cool. The thing is with reveneering is we have to reveneer that waterfall edge, so it's not like you're going to an edge and then you're just gonna put a veneer strip on it. This edge rounds. So hold on. There we go. So if you can see that, that's where it gets hard to veneer it because it's that round edge. But I think with enough heat, we can get that wood to bend. And if we do the glue right and we do just the curve and then we wait and let that really set up. Of course, I say this having never done it. But oh gosh, look at this, you guys. It was so pretty. It just kills my soul. Look at that. Isn't that just amazing? And I don't know if I could even find that veneer again. And the thing is once I redo them, I don't wanna sell them because I love them now. They're my children, like, right? Isn't that pretty? I love the graining on that. You guys are a little bit behind me, so I can see it when it comes up on the screen. Jess says, "My man goes to the sawmill and gets awesome scraps for cheap to build amazing unique." That's a good idea, Jess. Don's getting ready to change jobs here at the new year, and he was trying to kind of figure out the difference, how to make up the difference in pay. And I'm like, "You've got skills way beyond what mine are as far as working." He built this house, he and my father-in-law, and the man can build anything. And I'm like, "If you would get into this furniture with me and help me do it, and we could get these pieces out, that would be a great side income." Um, RJ says, "I had to put my swerve on as I passed a garage to purchase a big rectangle of marble for $10. Nice. Finally found a dresser to put under it to redo it. I turned it into a dining buffet." I bet that thing is heavy. Yeah, I really do like redoing furniture. I would have never thought I would do it, but there's this gal on YouTube and she's a teacher and she did furniture and used all the money that she made from the furniture. I think in a year she was able to pay back her student loans. And so I was watching her, because she was totally inexperienced. And I thought, "Oh shoot, I could do that. I'll just get a couple crappy things that I don't know, that aren't gonna cost me anything for free or, real cheap at the Goodwill. And I'll start with those and learn some things." And I love sanding. My hands can hardly stand it, but I love to sand. That just getting that smooth surface is so nice. Um, But watching it come together, and I've got a sprayer now, but I'm waiting for my husband to make some room so that I can spray furniture because it's so much smoother. I hate I hate rolling furniture unless you guys know of a good roller. Like I'll use those velvet like velour ones. Um, and even those will leave little I to me it's got to be like you'll see people that'll say shabby chic, and a lot of times shabby chic what it really means is I didn't clean this piece or sand it or prime it. I threw on some thick paint that's got you can see all the brush marks in, and now that makes it stylish. And I'm like, no, that makes it that you didn't take any care or concern for the piece because I can't sell anything that I feel like I've cut corners on. But yeah, I'll see that all the time. Now I've seen some pieces that are chalk painted and stuff that I do really like. They've done a good job on them. They've used some antiquing wax and stuff to give them character. There's some real art there to be done. But mostly the way I see shabby chic done is like, wow, that's it's just so bad. Not to be judgy, but it just is as far as looking at the quality and is that paint job gonna hold up for people for a long time? And, like, if I've got a story that goes along with a piece of furniture, I actually type the story out and put it in the top drawer of the furniture so that when the people get it, they know the story of it, and I think that's a nice little, addition. Um, redoing Jess says, "My mom makes a lot of money redoing old furniture, hand painted." Yeah, it is it's very cathartic to do, and I like the I think it's called the bin, primer. It's, what is the name of that? I can almost see it from here. Anyway, we use this primer and it stinks to high heaven, but it dries super fast and you can use it when it's really cold outside, like 20 degrees. You could paint this primer on something outside and it would dry just fine and it dries fast. Like in 20 minutes you can paint over it. And so that makes the projects go a lot faster. It's worth the extra money. And if you're gonna cover something that's been stained, like you're gonna paint a piece white or whatever, you definitely want to prime that, sand it. You don't have to do a hard sand, but just sand it a light scratch up to get so to hold, and then use that primer. Is it bin? I think it's called bin, um, shellac primer or something like that. Um, but then put that primer on, and the white won't yellow. That's why you'll see all these pieces that are supposed to be white start yellowing because the tannins in the wood are coming out. So if you put a good primer over them, then you don't ever have that yellowing, and your piece will stay white. Um, My m I tore the drawers Patty says, "I tore the drawers out and connected the drawer fronts so it would become a door where I" You know what's funny? We were just talking about that with that buffet piece. I'm like, "What if we took those drawers out and just put doors there?" Because we've got we're gonna need some places to store things in the studio, and I thought that would be a pretty piece to put in there if we've got any room. You can sell anything. Have you watched HSN? I have not. Let people decide if they want it and negotiate a fair price for you to cut corner pieces. Yeah, that's true. Um, Patty says, "That's such a sweet thing to do, putting the story in the top drawer. Have you seen the mosaics the lady makes from China she destroys and puts on furniture?" No, but I bet that's cool. And let me tell you something. If you are dealing with like a bunch of pent up anger or rage, I was after my divorce. I went to the Goodwill and I bought glassware, plates, mostly plates. I bought some glasses, just old, ugly, mismatched, right? And I took them out. So for the first thing I tried to do was to throw eggs at trees. And we had this big backyard. And so I'd be out there just whizzing and it would miss the tree. And then that would make me even madder. 'Cause there's no, like, real socially appropriate ways for women to express rage, and I think sometimes you gotta get it out or you're gonna explode, right? So, I would throw the egg, it would miss the tree, and then it wouldn't even break when it hit the ground, it would make me so mad, and I'm like, "Oh," and then I thought, "What must the birds think?" I really thought this. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, they're probably thinking, 'Oh my goodness, that crazy person has gotten into nests and is killing baby birds.'" And I was so worried I was traumatizing the birds, so I went to the Goodwill, I bought these plates, and, we came back, we went down in the bottom of the driveway, and we just smashed plates. It was the most emotionally cathartic thing I had ever done, just breaking something, the breaking sound, we cleaned it all up and everything after, but I worked out a lot of stuff with Goodwill plates. I tore newspapers, yes, I've done that, tore magazines, things like that. Um, says she oh, the lady that does the mosaics, she paints anything you can think of. Furniture, patterns, birds, flowers. She's crazy amazing artist and just one of her hobbies. Yeah, I'm not a crazy amazing artist. I can do some stuff, uh, but I'm learning to, kinda go with it and not feel like every little thing has to be perfect. Jess says, "I heard from a top homeopathic doctor, Jana something. She said digging in the dirt and breathing in the microbes from the soil is better than Prozac." I'm sure. I wouldn't doubt that at all. There's some really good studies that show just 5 minutes of being outdoors doing something physical, was as effective as an antidepressant. Well, as effective as antidepressants are, now we're finding out all kinds of stuff about those, aren't we? Dr. Jana, she's not is I don't think that's her. Is she the one that does she's the there's, like, the virus theory, and then there's, I think, the terrain theory. Is she the one that's all about the terrain theory? I've been looking into that. I liked breaking plates and bottles. It's so amazing. I love breaking stuff. No, I love demo, but Don even demos carefully. He's a perfectionist. This is why things don't get done. Um, like, when he demos, he pulls every nail out and he tries to preserve everything he can, so there's no joy in the demo either. This is why we don't do projects together. No crazy amazing artists no crazy amazing artist thinks they're crazy amazing artists. That's probably true. I can't think of her last name right now. I I'm betting that's her. Is she on the Frank Plogem, Ploegem channel? He the gal I'm thinking of has long blonde straight hair, no bangs. Looks like she's maybe in her 30s, but I think she's probably older than that. Um, RJ says we can thank COVID, I think, for all the secrets that have been revealed that are coming out. You know what? That's true. If nothing else, I know better than to trust anybody in a governmental position now. I assume most of them were doing a pretty decent job, and sure, you had your snakes in there, but I think it's really opened my eyes to how bad both parties are. I feel like it's such a hot mess right now that if there were like a big uh flusher, you know, they would all be sitting in there in that big room that they sit in to vote. I never could think of what that building's called. And we would just flush and they would just and they would all be gone. And then we would all sit down and we'd be like, okay, what are you good at, Tracy? April, what are you good at? Patty, Jess, what can you guys do? RJ, what are you good at? And I think we could probably do it better just getting a bunch of moms and dads together, who've had some success in their life at just getting through life. They've paid bills, they've run a business, they've raised children. They're not stealing from anybody, they're not embezzling. Their goal isn't to become rich and powerful. They just want everybody to be left alone and be able to have their lives. I really think we could do it. So if something terrible crazy happens and that whole place gets flushed, I vote for us. I totally vote for us. We could absolutely do it. I've seen you guys have expressed your skill sets. There is no reason we could not run this country. In fact, I think part of the reason that it's so complicated to run is because of those people. There's 500 pages of paperwork, red tape on any single thing that you want to do. And it makes it impossible to get, if you've even tried to get anything done locally, wasn't it a nightmare? Like getting permits for something, or they make it as painful and as stressful as, you're wringing your hands while you're waiting to see if you're going to pass an inspection or get a permit. Like they're not being helpful. They're just like, what can I come in here and ding you for? It's just crazy. I'm like, why do you have to make it so complicated? It's not that hard. RJ says, that's why wait, no, Jess says, "That's why I get to think she's crazy amazing. She's mom mama." I love it. RJ says, "I threw a Coke bottle at a tree several times." Oh my gosh. "I threw a Coke bottle at a tree several times before it flung back and stuck in my forehead. I always thought the tree was offended and paid me back." Oh my gosh, I bet you still have a scar from that. One time when I was a kid, I was babysitting the kids next door. I was probably in 5th or 6th grade, and the little girl was still in a high chair. And so I put her up in the high chair, and they make those little toys that have got the suction thing, and you put the suction on the high chair tray, that way they can't knock the toy off, which is the game. Um, well, she was getting bored with that and fussing and carrying on. So stupid me, I decide to take the suction thing and suck it to my forehead and then let her keep pulling it off, not realizing that a huge black bruise was forming on my I had this huge hematoma on my forehead. It took weeks to go away. My mom's like, "Why would you do that?" I'm like, "I don't know." The same reason we used to have these little cars when we were kids. If you're much younger than me, you might not remember, but you could pull the car back, maybe they still make them, and then let it go, and it would go on its own. It had like a little wind thing in it that made it go, right? So my brother had one that you could turn on and it would just go. And so I turned it on and it was making a weird noise and I put it to my ear and it wound my hair into it all the way to my scalp. So when I'm little, you see these pictures where I've got long curly hair and then you see pictures where like it's the page boy haircut all the way to the head, just round with a bowl around my head because my mom had to cut it all off to get the car out of my hair. Stupid. Just stupid things kids do. Um, Blonde Dr. Jana. Yeah, okay, I know who you're talking about then. I miss being naive too. RJ says, "I totally trusted the CDC, NIH, and wow, they're awful." They are. And the Ivy League universities, not impressed. Yeah, I'm so upset that Boston University was like, "Let's make another chimeric coronavirus." I'm like, "What?" They're like, "That way if this thing happens to it, we can," and I'm like, "No, we tried that before, remember? And it went really bad. So why how about stop? How about not? How about let's not do that?" Um, oh, yes, I'm scarred from that Coke bottle I bet you are. You had a I did, I had a hic and it was a perfect circle, and luckily I had bangs, and so all day long at school, I'd be pulling on my bangs. It's probably why I do it now, pulling on my bangs, trying to cover that ridiculous and it was like it wasn't just a round bruise, it was, like, elevated because she had pulled that off so many times that fluid had kind of pooled on. It was hideous. I looked like some kind of deranged cyclops. My poor mother. That happened to me. Same haircut right during puberty. One time so my Uncle Frank, who is father to my cousin Frank, who I lost, who I so dearly loved. But my Uncle Frank, when we were kids, came to the house, and this was the uncle you wanted to hang on with or hang out with because something was gonna happen, right? It and it was always gonna be something that they were like, "Okay, is everybody all right? Don't tell your mother," right? That kind of thing. So Uncle Frank comes to the house, and we grew up in Michigan, and, he asks my mom if he can take us sledding to this big sledding hill in where we near where we lived in Michigan. So it's his 2 kids and me and my brother, and so he takes us. Well, he had bought this big inner tube, and Uncle Frank's a big guy. He bought this huge inner tube, like, you could probably set 2 adults in it if they were on one was on the other's lap, right? Not only did he get this inner tube, but he waxed the bottom of it. And so he's like, "I got this inner tube, this thing's gonna fly." And down at the bottom of the hill, if you've lived anywhere where you sled, there's always trees. That's part of the fun, is figuring out how to dodge the trees. I kn If you live today and you've grown up in a bubble with no drawstrings on your coats and no tall slides and no cemented playgrounds, you don't know the joy of growing up in the '70s, but so the bottom of this hill is just a bunch of trees because it's Michigan, right? And picnic tables and the grills and stuff that were in that park during the summertime. And I don't think that was Mount Trashmore. I can't remember which one that one was that we went to, but nobody wanted to do it with him. Well, I didn't know he had waxed it. His kids had seen what had been done, and I think my Aunt Betty likely told him that wasn't a good idea. So I'm like, "I'll go with you. I wanna go first." So he sits down, he puts me in his lap, and that thing takes off, right? We're going down this hill, and we are flying. I mean, flying. The thing's going past her like this, right? And I'm like, "Oh gosh, it's too fast, it's too fast." And my uncle Frank sees this girl standing in the middle of the hill. She's probably 6 or 7. I'm probably 10 maybe at the time. And he's like, "Get out of the," and then her boot hits me in the forehead and she goes flying. Just took her out, right? Then we keep sailing down and I don't remember anything between the boot hitting me, um, and then being at the bottom of the hill with my cousins and my brother around me and my uncle doing this, "Oh god, be okay. Please be okay. Please be okay." So I kinda, was back to myself, and And he's like, "Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, that's gonna leave a mark." So he's trying to cover it, and he's like, "Don't tell your mom. Don't cry. Don't cry." So we have to leave now, of course, because 'cause I've got some closed head injury. He's like, "Just go in. Don't say anything." So my mom's like, "Oh, you guys are back quick. Go downstairs and get your snowsuits and hang, your boots off and hang everything up on the line." And then we'd come up and she'd have hot chocolate for us. And so Uncle Frank drops us and he's gone, right? And they just live down the street like 7 houses. And, we come upstairs and she would put our pajamas downstairs so that we could get into dry clothes. So we come upstairs and I'm, like, looking at my brother, I'm like, "Is it covered?" He's like, "Yeah, it's good, it's good." So we get up there and, my mom comes over with the hot chocolate and she's like, "Why are your bangs so pasted?" And she does this and she's like, "Oh my gosh, what happened?" And of course I throw Uncle Frank under the bus and I said, "I didn't wanna do it. Uncle Frank brought this big tire thing and it was so fast and we hit that little girl and I don't know where she went, but she never let him take us sledding again." It was still fun. I still remember it with great joy, so, um, hold on, I gotta make sure I'm in the right spot here. I don't wanna miss your comments. My friend caught his hair. What? My friend caught his hair in a 24-volt DeWalt drill out from the roots. Oh my gosh, that hurts so bad. Wow. Well, that speaks to keeping your hair back when you're working in the shop, doesn't it? Kinda like that teacher that's got the ginormous breasticles. Um, I really think she's just scamming the whole system to be ironic, but, I should have put that back in a ponytail, it's bugging me. Um, but yeah, I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, scoot back from the table saw." I'm so worried she's gonna lob off because those boobs. I asked somebody, I'm like, "Where would you even get those things?" And they sent me the Amazon link, and I think they were like $400. I'm like, you don't wanna slice those off, those are expensive." Leave it to me to worry about that. Um, RJ says, "My brother and I just reminisced about him intentionally wrapping my hair in the rubber band propelled propeller of a balsa wood airplane." Oh my god. Horrible story. Long hair, ponytailed guy working in a bakery got his hair caught in the massive mixer. Ooh, his hair was in whatever they were baking, even without that. It ripped his hair out along with his scalp. Oh, I've seen that when people have had accidents where they'll, like motorcycle accidents, they'll get road rash really bad and it'll take their scalp off. And like I've seen where you can see skull and stuff because they're so scraped up. It is bad and it takes a long time to heal. Um, that's just awful though. Gosh, bless his heart. You're not making cookies thinking this is the day I'm gonna scalp myself with the big electric mixer. I worked in a place called Coastal Cookie when I was in high school. I think I was in high school. Maybe just graduated. I can't quite remember. I have a hard time with chronology. But, we had this huge mixer. They made the best Ranger cookies, but they had this huge mixer, and I was always scared some part of me was gonna get caught in that mixer because there's no stopping that easily. Um, yeah, I bet that was painful. Ever hear what happened to the girl you hit? The girl I hit? Who did I hit? That teacher is mocking us. I missed something. That teacher has to be what teacher? I missed some part of this conversation. Ever happened to the girl you hit? Like, the girl that was are we talking about the girl that was messing with my brother? Yeah, her if that's who we're talking about, her life did not turn out well. Um, that teacher has to be making fun of society. Oh, the breasticle person. Yes, I think so. I don't think that's serious, and there's, like, some reports from the kids, I guess, that have come out that are like, this person got in trouble for being, like, an alpha male or toxic male or something last year, and so this is all part of a big, long troll. I That's a dedicated trolling for sure. Um All the times I probably needed stitches was doing something I shouldn't, so I never said a word. Oh, I know. I remember, um, I can't remember where we were out on a boat or something with my dad, and my brother got cut, and dad's like, "Oh, we'll just super glue that." And I'm like, "What? No, don't." But dad was really big on, super glue would fix just about anything. Burns. Um, the evildoers are just right in our faces for sure. Oh, on the sled, the little girl. No, that little girl, we could have killed her that day. I would have no idea because all I remember is seeing her getting closer and closer and then feeling the boot hit my head, and then I don't remember anything else until my cousins and my brother was all they had to run down the hill. So I don't know how long I was out for. My uncle was more worried he was gonna get in trouble than that I would have brain damage. Because normally when you knock out your niece by way of hitting another child, you would take her to the ER but he's like, "No, no, no, don't tell your mom. It'll be okay. You'll feel better in a couple days." Mm. Yeah, I'm back on. I couldn't the teacher comment came in with the girl comment, and I'm like, "Oh, I'm so confused. Where did they go?" Yeah, the teacher with the you guys, as most of us, I think all of us here are women, unless there's some men here that are just like, "Wow, who knew?" Um, we carry these things around all day because we have to. Can you imagine carrying those I don't know if those are silicone or these are the things I think about. I'm super practical. Like, I'm not worried about the higher cause. I'm like, "Can you imagine how your back would hurt at the end of the day?" And the guy's kind of narrow built. So if you look at him when he's wearing the short shorts, he's got, like a man, he's got narrow hips, he's got a small butt, small legs. So he's totally top heavy. And I think, man, when he gets home at the end of the day, his back has got to be, it'd be like having two pregnancies for boobs. So I'm hoping maybe they're filled with something not silicone, like maybe they're cotton filled or of course, then every time you pushed against something, your whole boob would dent in. That's not a good look. I mean, like, it's a good look to begin with. We've kind of missed the mark there already. Um, RJ says exactly, the evildoers are just right in our faces. Um, in the 70s, you didn't even consider head injury or brain damage. You didn't. You didn't. We rode our bikes without helmets. Um, we had this, remember our swing sets, they had the metal post sides that were sunk into cement. And a lot of us had cement playgrounds. And then you'd get going really high on that swing and see how high you could get going and then jump off and not kill yourself. Like the whole thing of a 70s childhood was, what can I do? How far can I push it and not die? And that was it. Like, we had monkey bars, and I remember they had to make the rule about wearing the girls having to wear shorts under their dresses because the boys would stand under you on the monkey bars so they could see your underwear. Um, and that wasn't considered like some big thing you needed to have a court case about. It was just boys are boys and you guys need to wear shorts. Um, but yeah, I mean, we had the big monkey bars. The slide was huge, and they were those metal slides, you guys. If you did not grow up in the era of metal slides, you missed some serious thigh burns because when it would get hot out, the sun would just cook that slide. And so you learned one time, to not go down the slide with your legs flat to take off your shoes and pull your feet up. Otherwise, you would totally scorch the backs of your legs. But I mean, gosh, just the crazy things, climbing trees. Like, if you broke something and ended up in a cast, that was the best day because you were going to be able to go to school with a cast, which was going to get the attention of every kid. You were going to be able to tell some very elaborate story far beyond what actually happened about how you broke this arm, doing something crazy or brave or whatever. Every kid wanted to sign it and every kid wanted to be you. And now it's like my kid was at school and they broke their arm and now I'm going to sue the school district. And I'm like, no, that's like, I was so bummed out that I never broke a bone in elementary school because all the other kids, almost, a good amount of them, probably over half, ended up with a cast at some point, but I never got one, and I always felt gypped. That's stupid. Um, RJ says having a back injury from doing something so heinous. You know what's funny is now that I'm 52, I can wake up hurt. I don't know how I'm injuring myself in my sleep. Isn't that weird? I'm gonna take that. Well, I guess I'll leave the YouTube thing up. You can't click on it, so I don't know how helpful it is, but I'm tired of looking at it. There we go. It didn't come down. Oh, it'll take a minute. Um, I forgot what I was talking about. The kids crashing, the burned slides, the casts. I don't know. Help me out, guys. I can't remember. Um, wait, 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 wait. I was talking about how you can get hurt like just lying in your bed. And so I'll wake up some days and I'll go to get out of bed and I've somehow twisted or tweaked in my sleep. Like, I'm not like, you've seen how 2-year-olds sleep. They're all over the bed. Not me. I have to sleep with the head of the bed elevated. So I'm pretty much in one or two positions the whole night. I don't know. What or you, like, can sneeze and wreck your entire week if you don't pee on yourself. You can hurt your back sneezing, and I've thrown my back out a couple times where I couldn't where I had to go bent over to the car to get into the car, to go to the urgent care, to call somebody in there to have them come get me out of the car because I have so seized up my back before doing nothing. I don't know what happens. Like, last night, I got off my live stream, and my second toe on my right foot was hurting the joints were hurting me so bad and throbbing so hard that I couldn't sleep, and I'm looking at my toe, and I'm like, "I was sitting. I was sitting. I didn't hit it. I didn't do anything. I was just sitting, and somehow my toe is now torturing me." And so I put the Penetrex lotion on it with the methylene blue in it and put the red light on it, and it was probably 2 hours. I took something for it. I never take anything for pain, but it wouldn't quit. And so, yeah, somehow it's fine today. I think it was just I don't know, like, is the earth the heavens, are they just messing with us because they can? Like, why how I don't understand how I'm broke. Um, wait, oh, I fooled them, I didn't wear underwear. RJ, you're so funny. Just says, "Oh my gosh, Penny, me and my girlfriend Kelly in kindergarten terrorized the boys after they tried to look up our dresses." When I was in kindergarten, we lived in Michigan, and I went to school I think it was school 2, it was across the street from us, it's not there anymore, but I remember the getting in trouble when I went home because the teacher called my mom and said she needed to talk to me because I was chasing the boys on the playground and then wrestling them down and kissing them. I mean, you'd go to jail as a kindergartner for that now, but that was and they would whine and carry on. I'm like, "Be a boy, come on." Terrible. And I didn't kiss them for any sexual reasons. I kissed them because there's no better way to gross out a kindergarten or 1st grade boy than to kiss him. You could almost make them cry. I was a total tomboy. We held them down and yanked their pants to teach them a lesson. Oh my gosh, Jess. When we were in, I think it was 6th grade, Scott Rutherford moved in on our block. And Scott harassed everybody, and he would, like, take all the pencils out of our desks or, um, I can't remember what else he did, but he was doing all this stuff and, like, really harassing the girls in class. So the girls revolted, and they decided I say they like I was not included, that we were gonna get him on the playground, and we were gonna take his pants off him, and then he'd just be in his underwear, and we were gonna hang them on the lost and found tree. So we had this white potted tree it was, like, spray painted white. It was just like a tree with no leaves or anything, like, not a real tree, I don't think, and it was in the hallway in the front of the school, Barrow Elementary School in Rockwood, Michigan, and they would put mittens there and coats and hats and whatever, and you could go to the lost and found tree and look for things that you'd lost, and so that was our plan, right? Well, we got him, but when we pulled down his when we pulled down his pants, his briefs came with them, and it was a whole big thing, and so they called us in, and we all the girls had to go to the uh, gymatorium and sit on the stage, and the sheriff came. I mean, you've not seen a bunch of more scared 6th grade girls, and so the sheriff came, and he was like, "Did you guys do this?" And we're like, "Yes, but" he kept doing all of this to us, and he's like, "I want you to know that that's a crime, and that's assault, and you could all go to jail." I was sick. I was sick. I really thought I was gonna be physically ill. I'm like, "I'm gonna go to jail. My mom's gonna cry all the time. This is gonna be horrible." And they were just scaring us, and so they had to, like, send this letter home to the parents because we'd assaulted this boy, and, um, I'll never get to run for president now because of that, um but he left us alone after that, and I didn't get in actually a whole bunch of trouble at my parents'. I thought I would be in more trouble than that. Um, Jess says, "Glad I didn't yank yours, RJ." RJ says, "Injured while sleeping was what you were saying." Oh, yeah, thank you, squirrel, right. Penny, the regular Georgie Porgy, yeah. "Oh, the kissy kissy game in kindergarten was the best." RJ says, "That had to have been traumatic for everyone involved to expose him even accidentally." I know, it was bad. We didn't think it was gonna go that way, of course. And I think, like, they were just I don't think we took them. I think he still had them. As I recall, he was wearing a t-shirt and underwear on the playground. It was bad. I don't recommend it. It was funny, they were talking about Katie Hobbs the other day and how, like, this big thing that they had on her, and I'm not a Katie Hobbs fan, but this thing that they had on Katie was that when she was in high school, the seniors all had slaves. They did like a slave auction, and then the freshmen had to be their slave for the week or whatever. And everybody was going on and on. And I'm like, there are a bunch of people that grew up in the 70s that are just like quietly slipping out of the conversation because that was not an uncommon thing. It was not uncommon. The seniors, when I went to band camp, I know this sounds totally nerdy, they auctioned off every single freshman, and then you had to, like, carry their stuff and sing stupid songs and go get their lunch and all these things, and that was just like a rite of passage, and you did it because you knew when you were a senior, you would do the same to the freshmen. It had nothing to do with actual slavery. Um, it was more of just kind of a hazing sort of thing that we did, and it's so funny because 'cause I'm like, "That's the reason people are, like, all offended and upset of all the things she's done? That's it?" I just thought that was weird. Hi. Hi, Sophie. Are you hungry? Oh, it is time. She knows how to tell time. It's 4 o'clock. It's when she eats. That had oh, sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do. One time at band camp, I know, right, right. That was the year, I was in a cabin with Regina, I can't remember her last name, but I remember kids were so mean and would call her Regina. But she ended up marrying Larry Rutherford, who everybody called Lumpy. Um, but she pulled a suit. I think it was her that did it. She didn't mean to. She had a hard suitcase, because those used to be a thing, and they had those hard closures on them. And so it had, I think, 2 on the front and then 1 on each side. They were like, metal. I can't think of what that latch is. You kinda lift it, and then it hooks onto this little tongue on the other piece, and then you push it down, and that's how it closes the suitcase. Well, she had a full suitcase, and she pulled it down off the bottom bunk, and when she did, it swung, and I was sitting on the floor, and it nailed me in the head. So, yeah, I was the kid with the stupid goose egg on my head at band camp. I wasn't any of the kids that got swimmer's itch, though, so there's that. Um, that's That's how it was, and it should be that way still because it just teaches you life's pain and tolerance. Yeah, for sure. It wasn't It's funny because people I just think it's really interesting that people will take today's, um, cultural standards and then take something that didn't happen today, that happened years and years ago that was not at all unusual in the time. I mean, yes, it's now that you look back on it, it's in bad taste, but at the time, that wasn't like, nobody was offended by it. Neither party was offended. And now they're like, "Oh, this person told this joke or did this thing," and I'm like, "Right, but in social context, if you look back at that time period, everyone was doing that. That wasn't uncommon. It wasn't considered any kind of ism, um, and people had a sense of humor. And now it's like, you can lose your whole career because you told an off-color joke in 1973. And I'm like, "What? In 1973, everybody bought that, everybody went and saw that show and thought it was hysterical." So for all the people, like, screaming this person down, I'm like, "Where are all the people that watched that comedy special and thought it was hysterical?" Like, I mean, Eddie Murphy, holy cow. If you've never watched Eddie Murphy Raw, go and watch it and see some of the things that people said back then. Um, I mean, there's jokes about every, group of people. Um he tells jokes on his own race of people. It's just go back, watch some of Richard Pryor's stuff. Oh my goodness. It would people's we were watching, Lethal Weapon, and there's the scene. So you guys remember Dixie. So Dixie is the prostitute that at the beginning of the movie sees the girl jump off, or is there when the girl is on the roof of the car after jumping from the high rise, right? And she's like, "Oh, yes, I saw everything." So Mel Gibson and Danny Glover are uh, going to talk to Dixie at her house to see, what actually went on. And there's a bunch of little boys there, and they're playing outside together, and they go over to Dixie's house, and Mel Gibson and Danny Glover do, and Dixie's house blows up, and they go flying. Well, while they're on the ground, I think Danny Glover is, like, on top of Mel Gibson. Originally in that movie, um, Mel Gibson shoves Danny Glover and is like, "Get off me, faggot or gay," or something like that, I can't remember. And that was not uncommon in that time. Well, they've since taken that out of the movie, it's not in there anymore. And I thought maybe I was having, like, a Mandela effect and I misremembered that, but then I pulled out our copy, and yeah, they've actually changed it, and I'm like, "Do we really need to go back?" Like, how are you gonna fix Mel Brooks movies? I mean, there's just so many movies, how would you possibly make them acceptable by today's standards? And everything that people are saying today, in 10 years is going to be offensive and you're gonna be judged for it. So just keep that in mind, no matter how woke you are, in 10 years, something you've done is gonna be offensive and they're gonna find it on Facebook. And even though it was totally a normal thing to say today, it will get you canned in 10 years. Um, no, he did not bother us again, for sure. Have you seen the little girl handing out life lessons? No bullying. I have not. No bullying policy. No wheels on those suitcases. Nope, you're right. I'm offended that you're offended. Oh, I'm offended that you think I'm being offensive. I'm like, do you have nothing to do today? Like I'm amazed at how much time and energy goes into just being offended and looking for things to be offended at or by. Just as exactly. And Penny, I just don't care who I offend anymore. Give me my hose and put me in the front yard lawn chair to spray. the- Get off my lawn. I have a I have a picture on my front door. So I had a sign because when I was doing shows, invariably somebody would come by and just keep beating on the door. And it made me so mad. And I'm like, I'm not answering for a reason. Just leave whatever you've got and go. And they're always like trying to sell me something. So I started guilting them. Like they would come by and try to sell me windows. And I'd say, "Well, what's wrong with my windows?" And they're like, "Well, they're very old and not efficient and, those kinds of windows." And I'd let them do their whole spiel, right? And then I would say, "My husband built this house 30 years ago. He and his dad put those windows in. We actually get a rating on our utility bill that tells how efficient we are as compared to other houses in the neighborhood. These windows are 30 years old, and we still are at the top of the whole neighborhood for energy efficiency with these windows." And then I make them feel bad because my husband put those windows in, and they're like, "Oh, I'm s" or, they'll come by and they're like, "Hey, we see your lawn looks really trashy or weedy," or whatever, which is just impossible to fix in Kentucky. And, I'll be like, "My husband ripped up that whole lawn and put down new seed and then ripped it up all again and put down new seed. Are you saying you don't like our lawn?" And you can mess with them because that's the person that I am. I admit it. Isn't it funny that I can never find a picture? And I know I took a picture of it because, I wanted to show it to people. But anyway, I had it in here a couple weeks ago before I finally put it up because Don was never gonna get it put up. And, uh, and I do love him. He has many good qualities. I have to start sharing some of those. But I had the picture and, or I hadn't had it put up, but finally I did. I went out there and put it up because it needed to go up. But anyway, it says something like, "Thank you for stopping by. If you're selling something, please leave your, please leave your brochure with your home address, and if we're interested, we'll stop by your house and let you know. Um, thank you very much. God bless you. Now go away." And every person that comes to the door either takes a picture of it or laughs about it. So I love that it's kind of bridged that. So even the people that wanted to sell me something think it's funny. And I'm like, okay, well, I added to the good. Um, Oh, RJ says, "I love to say you have a right to be offended." That kinda shuts it down. Right, yeah, you can say, "Oh, wow, yeah, I can see you're offended by that." And then you just acknowledge it, it doesn't have to have all the credibility in the world or change you. Um, oh my, In Living Color, oh my gosh, can you imagine if we showed In Living Color to freshmen in high school or freshmen in college today? I mean, I would be offended just rewatching it. Blazing Saddles was exactly the one I was thinking of, and do you know exactly what line I'm thinking of too, Patty. Um, nice trolling tips. Hey, I try. I try to troll people in a way, like with the sign, that they kinda know they're being trolled, so they're in on the joke because I don't wanna, like I could have just said, "I have a gun, go away or I'll kill you," but that would not be right. Um, so yeah, I would prefer to make light of it. RJ says, "That's fun, Penny. Make him feel bad for imposing on your life." Well, it's just weird. Like, it's like the people that are out in the middle of the um, paths, like at the mall, and they're like, I've had people actually come up to me and spray stuff on me. Like when I was having all the anaphylactic episodes, and this one lady just comes up, I'm like, "No, please don't," and she sprayed me with whatever it was, and I was so mad. I'm like, "Why would you do that? You have no idea what my allergies are," and I just was so upset that she and it stunk, and she sprayed it on me, and so, I mean, I had to, like, actually I can't do any kind of perfumes. If we need, like, laundry soap or something from the store, Don has to go buy that because I can't that aisle is so fragrant that it will totally set me off. Um, Patty says, "Have Don on sometime and play." Okay, I'm gonna tell him you said that, Patty, because I told him and now he's working on the studio right now, so we won't distract him. But I told him I want him to work up some music so that we can get together on Sundays and just have a little time with people on Sundays. Because I think a lot of people, don't have a church home right now, and it would be nice just to have that with people. I would have decked her. I know who does that? Like, would you ever if you're watching on Facebook, would you ever spray somebody with something, like a product that you were trying to sell without asking them? I was like, "I'm not," and she just like, before I could get away. I almost snatched it out of her hand. I'm like, "What are you doing? You can't just spray stuff on people. What's wrong with you?" Totally weird. All right, it is 4, almost 20. I'm getting the sense that my cats are hating me right now. They eat at 4, and I promised them I'd be done by 4, so we're gonna close this out. But thank you for joining me for tea time. I am gonna set a time for this now. So now that we've got the good internet, I was just waiting for them to hook that up on, Thursday. So now that we've got that, we'll do tea time on Mondays at 2. And depending on how that goes, we can add a day. Fridays are just a really hard day for me because I do such a long show on Thursday nights. So that's the plan is to do Mondays at 2. If you go to my website, which is WITT health coaching, all one word, withealthcoaching.com, you can sign up for my Substack. And every week in the morning of the day that I'm going to do a broadcast, I send out reminders. And so you'll get something in your email reminding you that we're doing a show so you don't have to miss the lives. I know it's more fun to watch live than on replay because you can join in. Um, RJ says, I used to do that while pretending to sneeze. It grossed people out. It was only water. You're so funny. Just as I would love a Sunday show. That's an awesome idea. I need to go. Love your show, Penny. I have to keep up with your schedule more. It's just Tuesdays or it'll be Mondays and Thursdays now. So Thursdays at 7, and that's mostly current events, COVID stuff. Last night we talked about the polio outbreak in New York. Um, what else did we talk about? I can't remember. We went long last night, 4 hours, I think. But we had a good chat. I think when I got off, I had 200 I can't remember, 250 some views during the live, which was great for a live. Usually most of my views come after, so I was excited. But yeah, if you go to my website, sign up for my Substack, you'll get notices in the morning on Thursdays, and probably for Tuesday shows, I'll send out the notification Monday evening. Um, and Mondays will be at 2 o'clock, Thursdays at 7. And that's Eastern time. So just keep that in mind. But like I said, I'll send you out reminders. So let me close this out in prayer so everybody can feel like we had closure on this. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for bringing us all together and giving us some time to just blah, 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 and talk about a million different things and just spend some time unwinding and filling back up for this world that has just become so complex and overwhelming at times. And I would just pray for anybody that is having division in their families or friendships or work relationships in life over all of the stuff that's going on in the world right now. I pray you would heal those relationships because we so grieve those. Every day we grieve those lost relationships. And I pray that you would bring healing there and bring people back together and just remind us we are all one race, we're the human race, and we're all in this together, and that division will never bring unity, and that coming together as a group and focusing on the things that make this country a great place to live is what's going to heal this country and make it better, not tearing it apart and starting completely over. But I thank you for each person that was here today. I thank you for each person that will watch this video on replay. And I just pray your blessings and provision over their life. If they are struggling, if they have been church hurt and just have some very angry feelings about you, I would pray that you would reveal to them that you are not church, you are God, and church is not God. And I pray that you would help me in some way be able to bring some healing and encouragement to their lives. Father, thank you so much for all you do for us, for all of your provision and your daily love of us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right, guys. Love to you. Have a great rest of your week. Um, we've only got a couple days, and probably after Thanksgiving, like the first of let's try for that first Sunday in December to see if we can have a show then. And I'll let my husband know that you guys asked because he sings and plays guitar and stuff, and he does a good job. Um, but that's all I've got for you. Thank you for joining me for tea time. I love hanging out, and we will talk